Now I'm going to play the theme song. Sam, I've got some terrible news and I've got some potentially great news. So I don't know what order do you want to? Well, you have to. There's only one order that you can hear it in, actually.
Well, has anyone ever asked for the good news first? Like, at least cinematically, anytime this option is presented to someone, have you ever known someone to ask for the good news first? And so for that reason, even though the obvious right answer is to go bad news first, I guess I'm going to flip the script because I'm innovative like this narratively.
That's not allowed. First of all, no.
Well, sorry. So that's the thing because it's a false to even act
I have a
like someone has any
play
agency in that decision.
I'm going to now we're doing like rhetorical Dungeons and Dragons. I think that's how this works. I'm going to counter what you just said with a card that if you're Isaac Brock from Mars Mouse, perhaps it would always be the good news first because you love bad news. Good news for people who love bad news is the name of their album. So
right, okay, that would. Mm-hmm.
Although I was always confused
that feels
about
like
that
a thing
actually
for sure.
too. Because is it good news? Finally, some good news for people who love bad news, and therefore it's bad for them, or is it good? Anyways, here's what I need to tell all.
I think it's bad news. It's like. I think it's bad news.
What about the Bad News Bears? What are those guys up to? What are they doing?
I don't. What are they? I'll look that. I'll Google.
There's got to be TMZ's got to be
News Bears.
Where are they now? There's got to be like the TMZ vertical, or like 2Fab or something, infecting your computer with some.
I'm on latestnews.fresherslive.com. This is where I get it for all my freshers out there.
You know the
it is plural. That is the name of the website. Is Freshers Live.
The thing of like a Nigerian prince scamming you or whatever, like that's so old hat. But the real like phishing, I think, is happening on listicles where you click through to find out where 90s stars are now.
Yeah, the subhead on fresherslive.com is great. The headline is, Bad News Bears, where are they now? Where are the cast of Bad News Bears now? And then the subhead is, Bad News Bears, where are they now? The Bad News Bears is a 1976 American sports comedy film. The Bad News Bears, which was released by Paramount Pictures, garnered mostly positive reviews. The movie even today has fans who wonder about the Bad News Bears. Where are they now? In this article, we have mentioned with the cast of Bad News Bears. Where are they now?
Well, the bad news.
These people make so much more money than us, by the way. Like Freshers Live pulls in
that? Why aren't we doing
many times the amount of money of 155?
Our one idea to scam people was to make them think that we were their friends by being in their brain all day long. And it worked to a degree, but we could be scamming them way more if we could get our access to their banking info or their cookies or whatnot. Yeah. That's what we need.
Yeah, we need you to accept our cookies, please.
How do we can people send us their cookies? Because I don't know how to do it through this medium. Okay, the bad news, folks, all y'all folks out there, all y'all folks listening, good folks, all y'all. The bad news, first and foremost. Much like in real life, FUGUZT is going on hiatus. It's over. They had a good run. They're going out on top with what will surely be a great episode. Now, here, do you want the good news now? Because it's sad. I mean, I think
we got to give that some space. I mean, look, this has been for sure. I mean, I feel like I say this, like Ashley makes fun of me and you and I talk about it and we do it in the Discord. Like every time we finish an episode or a month, I'm always like, I feel like we're really like, this is it. Like we're having such a good time. And like, I feel like it's funny and I kind of get what we're doing. And so in the wake of many other times where I've said that, and, you know, maybe I wouldn't say that about Road to the Fest month, but this month, I feel like this has been, month. I know for you,
especially
it was
the
an important one.
Episode.
Yeah, that's true. When you finally exposed your feelings about capitalism, I think FUGUZT has been the most fun you and I have had yet doing this version of the pod, and so I'm sad to see it go. And I think it's I just want to give it some space. You know?
Okay, let's give it a moment of silence.
And I spent a lot of money to see this last FUGUZT episode.
I almost need to.
I
I almost need to edit in a moment of silence. Honestly, we're so bad at leaving any gaps whatsoever. It's just two bricks of audio every week, and you all laugh it up. Let's give it a moment of silence for the end of FUGUZT.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, what if when Fugazi said they were going on hiatus, they immediately pulled a James Murphy and said, well, actually, we're not going to go on hiatus. And they immediately reunited. Well, that's why I'm happy to announce that the September theme of 155 Pod is FUGUZT Reunion. So we're getting the band back together for one more kick
Is that what we're calling it? We're calling it the FUGUZT Reunion?
Yeah, that's what I decided. I don't even tell you anything anymore.
No, I'm so out of the loop. Because I was like, ooh, as you were leading into it, I realized because FUGUZT has been, it's been out there between us for a long time. Mm-hmm. But I was like, what is his FUGUZT-tember going to be like?
FUGUZT Reunion. That's it.
The FUGUZT Reunion.
I'm hoping.
Wow.
I haven't checked yet, but this is all banking on that I can find a PNG file that is kind of like the Married with Children stamp, but it just says reunion, and then I'm going to put the stamp over the FUGUZT logo. And I think much like what you described, this coming month, we're still in FUGUZT original run. So this episode, I think, will not be tainted. I do think September's episodes will be tainted by trying to reach the highs of August. I think it's like we're living an entire lifespan of the pod in the course of 2 months, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, the idea of sort of trotting out our greatest hits to kind of diminishing returns, becoming exclusively kind of a nostalgia act for our aging audience. I look forward to going on that journey with you.
FUGUZT Reunion, but first let's talk about the now. Let's talk about the new. Let's talk about punk news. Punk news. Do you want to go first? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like
I was digging so deep. I was reading PR Newswire.
Yeah.
Like I told you we were going to start like 15 minutes ago. I've been reading every punk news headline out there today. And I think I found some fantastic news, really.
It took me a lot of pages. I mean, I think, again, we've talked about this. You and I do the same in-depth research methods. I know a lot every week about what is happening with CM Punk. I know what Freddie Prinze Jr. thinks about CM Punk now.
Are they good? Is everything okay?
So Freddie Prinze Jr. says that John Cena and CM Punk hated each other back in WWE. I saw that headline.
Why is he talking
want to say
about
200 times. That's what but I was really trying to find Punk in it.
This is all about
to find something good.
I mean, really, we're just holding our breath, trying so hard not to become a wrestling. Like being in our late 30s and being this lame, it's inevitable that we're going to get into wrestling, but not, God damn it, not in FUGUZT. Not at least in the original run.
Yeah, so it took me a while to find it, but I did have that thought where I was like, why is Freddie Prinze Jr. commenting on wrestling? And I thought, no, Sutherland, you got to focus. You got to find some punk news, and find some news I did, but I should warn you, Josiah, this one's a little scary, and I would buckle up. It comes from Kent Live of the news. No. I think Kent Live has definitely been
KentLive.news. They must have my cookies by now.
These people got your cookies.
The author of this article is what I call you, actually. Did you see this?
Oh, that's so nice. Folks, the article is by Sam Honey, which is how you say it. Now, this comes to us, again, I love to make it clear which part of the news we're reading here. So we're under news, celebs, and TV, and then Tunbridge Wells, which I assume is part of Kent. Or I mean, maybe it's a person's name. I mean, I know some people with the last name Wells. I don't know anyone with the first name Tunbridge, but I've never been to Kent. Now, Josiah, you mentioned they might have your cookies. Well, they might toss them with the scare that they're about to get, because Sam Honey has written this about Tunbridge Wells. Punk band's shock after discovering poltergeist in abandoned Crowborough mansion, now owned by Kate Blanchett.
Whoa!
Hold on. That's a weird
going
sentence,
on.
Right? Punk band's shock. So punk band's shock is the noun. So we are reading about the punk band's shock.
Yeah,
okay, so punk band's shock after discovering poltergeist in abandoned Crowborough mansion, now owned by Kate Blanchett.
I still don't get it.
Is the poltergeist owned by Kate Blanchett?
Yeah, so we're learning that they're shocked after they discovered a poltergeist in an abandoned. So it's no longer abandoned, the mansion, because it's now unless this is also sort of a sneak diss on Kate Blanchett's property management skills. Maybe it still is practically abandoned, despite.
I haven't been listening to you. I just keep trying to make this sentence make sense. What are you talking about? What's happening?
I'm saying, do you think that Kate Blanchett owning it makes it not abandoned anymore, or did she because she's probably not there. She's probably on set all the time.
Yeah, so it is abandoned, like at least emotionally abandoned by Kate Blanchett, who's just too focused on her career. If that's a thing that I think a man can judge a professional woman for, is more accomplished than him. Are they trying to say punk band, because it's punk band *S shock, and so are they? It can't be punk band is shock.
It almost seems like there's
punk band's shock. So it's possessive.
I think the story is about how they're punk band. They're shocked. The punk band is shocked that the abandoned mansion in Crowborough, where they once had a poltergeist, is this Cards Against Humanity. The abandoned Crowborough mansion, where they once discovered a poltergeist, they are now shocked to learn that decorated actor Kate Blanchett now owns it. I think is the shock.
That seems logical, but is it not also? So I feel
they're
like
interested in the
what
celeb,
the article is about.
the celeb aspect of it, because punk bands they pretend that they don't love celebs, but who doesn't love Kate Blanchett? I mean, I'm trying to remember she's from.
What a delight! I mean, in The Aviator, I mean, just a stunning turn.
Oh, Carol.
Benjamin
Button.
One possible.
Blue Jasmine.
One possible way of reading this
is we've never
that
seen that one. Blue Jasmine.
The punk band is shocked after it sounds like perhaps Kate Blanchett called in the punk band. So punk band shock after because discovering poltergeist is written in present tense, right? It's not like they discovered a poltergeist, so they're actively.
So you haven't read the article yet, right? Because I did.
I have skimmed. No, and you had the correct interpretation. I'm just really stuck on this. So during the filming of a particularly eerie music video back in 2007, Tunbridge Wells punk rock band Anti Nowhere League made quite the startling discovery. Now, Anti Nowhere League is a real band.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was thinking I've heard of that band.
Yeah, they're definitely on a comp. For their song, Mother, You're a Liar, the four-piece settled on Highwell House in Crowborough for the video shoot. This property is now known as the home of Oscar winner Kate Blanchett after purchasing the manor in 2015 for around $5 million.
She purchased it 7 years ago? They just only found out now, maybe? Or is this?
Yeah, maybe. Okay, well, let's find out. Prior to this movie,
So hold up. Let's take a look at the image at the top here. Like, you can see a poltergeist on the stairs. It's definitely not a blur. It's not a.
Yeah, that's right. This creepy image was deemed a genuine poltergeist sighting. So, I mean,
damn,
it's pretty real.
If someone deems it, it's true.
Once it's been deemed, it's
whoever
it's
deemed
done.
it
it's deemed, it's done.
meaned it. I think, yeah. They did the deed. They did the deem.
Mm-hmm. Prior to this movie icon moving in, however, the site had sat abandoned for at least a decade. In fact, the supposedly haunted manor was even named one of Britain's creepiest abandoned houses. The year was purchased by Kate. Good for a real.
She purchased it that year. Good Lord. Well, yeah.
Imagine buying Canada's creepiest abandoned house.
I mean, you look at her performance.
Would do it? Would you move in?
You look at Kate Blanchett's performance in, let's say, 2021's Don't Look Up. I mean, yeah, obviously she's fearless. I'm not surprised that she did this.
Wow, yeah, that's true. So basically the band. Okay, look, wow, this is really beefed up. So. Such a claim might have some weight behind it, however, so it's not just clickbait stuff, as Anti-Nowhere League discovered during their filming. After gaining permission to use the location for filming, a photographer joined the group to take pictures of the shoot as it took place. All these sentences are really hard to read. One photo stood out from the rest, however, showing a ghostly black figure that appears to be moving down the stairs. The photo was then sent over to a group known as the Poltergeist Society, who stated that these images showed a genuine poltergeist sighting. Okay, this is not like an impartial third party.
It's the full society.
That's who deems it. Lead singer of Andy Nowhere League, Nick Comer, recounted the experience to Kent Live. He said, the filming still sticks in my mind of how uncomfortable we all were and how chilling some of the rooms in Highwell House felt, especially the room where the previous old lady owner had left her self-portrait pictures hanging on the walls where eyes followed you. When the photo was seen, you could see a ghostly figure with hands outstretched walking down the stairway. The photo was sent off to the Poltergeist Society along with a few other shots, and they came back as a genuine poltergeist sighting. This is something I always felt I will remember forever. Wow. That's crazy. This is also owned by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
I really don't understand. Like, I'm not as someone who has had to write a lot of bullshit in my life before I just started speaking bullshit out loud and letting other people write it down if they want. But, you know, I take umbrage when people say, it must have been a slow news day. But what I don't understand in this case regarding Sam Honey is August 26th, 2022. I don't understand how you're talking about a music video from 2007 and a house that was purchased in 2015. There's no like decade anniversaries. There's no thing at the end that's like, oh, Anti-Nowhere League will be playing in Kent this Friday, or you know, like what?
Right, yeah.
In what? How would you even think to write this at this point? What would be the thread that you pull? I don't even understand.
Maybe he bumped into the still of the music video is amazing. Maybe Sam Honey bumped into
Nick
Culmer out on the streets of Tunbridge Wells. I mean, that doesn't sound like a particularly big town to me.
It's true.
If that's indeed what it is, let me check it out. So maybe it's just they go to the same pub, and it was like I haven't, it's been ages. Let's see, Royal Tunbridge Wells, population basically 60,000. So
I do see Sam. I think Sam Honey. Google's showing me this, but I can't. I would need to join the. I'm going to join the group. The Canterbury Residents group on Facebook. Sam Honey, I can see from Google results, shared this specific article in the group, but I can't view the discussion until I'm approved to be part of. In fact, 1 hour ago, according to Google's scrape. So wow, this is a developing story. I think. Sam Honey could be active. Active in this.
We'll keep everyone up to date as we look at for poltergeist. But ultimately, in the end, this is a story about gentrification. The kicker notes, in describing the rubbish and furniture strewn about the house. No wonder it became a prime choice for a punk rock music video shoot. Now the home looks far more glamorous, housing Kate and her husband and playwright Andrew Upton. Plus their 4 children. Okay, again, it sounds like the home houses Kate Blanchett, her husband, and a playwright named Andrew Upton, plus the 4 children of all 3 of those people. So Sam Honey, gotta say, love you, honey, but I just feel like just not all your sentences are good. Wow, Sam Honey is cool. Look at this guy.
Look at Sam Honey's most recent share, or maybe you can't see it because you're not in the group. You're not in the Canterbury Residents group like I am. Sam Honey shared a post in there just last week, and it was framed how I think it's that a historic theater is perhaps being turned into a Costa, and he framed it by saying some good news and some bad news for movie lovers in the city. So, Sam Honey knows what's up. Well, Sam,
damn, it's good news, bad news season.
Well, Sam Honey, let me tell you about my news. We're talking a lot about journalism. We're talking a lot about kind of stuffy things, gentrification. I just want to have a giggle. I just want to have a laugh. And whenever I'm in the mood, just kind of let my hair down and goof off. I always check out this website called boingboing.net.
The classic.
It's kind of just a great place to
laughs.
Stumble upon articles and dig into them. It's kind of like that era of, I think, Web 1.5 or something. And so
used Dig? Who was Dig for?
I have no idea. What's a dig for, right?
What does it mean to dig a website? Yeah.
Beatniks, maybe?
2007.
Beatniks maybe used it. Super Mario finally gets the epic pop punk anthem he deserves, writes our friend Tom Dunn, who does follow me on Twitter and frequently pops up in the punk news section. I hope we never speak to each other. It'll be very uncomfortable if we do. Hopefully no one listens to this part of the show. So this is a band called Sub Radio. And they're the band who brought you the Stacy's Dad parody. So I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, the Stacy's Dad. We did actually watch that, didn't we?
Did we? Maybe. I don't know, but also...
We did. Why?
Wouldn't Stacy's Mom be a parody of... Do you say the Stacy's Dad parody? Well, You mean Stacy's mom? The parody came out first? Is this some sort of reverse Weird Al?
Yeah, everyone knows that this is the band that inspired Fountains of Wayne. Why the fuck would you and I have watched Stacy's dad?
Why
on
do you
this
think we
podcast?
watched it? What makes you think we watched it?
We did though. We did. Why? Because there's no one else I would have watched Stacy's dad with.
Maybe you watched it on your own time. I've never seen this shit before.
Just saying, when I'm just at home watching parody music videos.
Well, let's forget Stacy's dad. Basically, they took the song Stacy's mom and made it about her dad instead. But
okay.
Apparently, Sub Radio have quite a few of original non-pop culture referencey power pop music as well. Now, similar to the last story, this Mario song is not viral. I don't even know why. Either our friend Tom Dunn just needed to post something and was feeling the Sam Honey crunch, or like, I need to do something here, and he couldn't piece together that Anti-Nowhere League was friends with Kate Blanchett's Poltergeist.
I do love a honey crunch. That's like
whatever
my favorite
your word salad. That was like the most fucked headline ever. So maybe he couldn't figure that out, and so maybe he searched punk in his inbox and found this, or I'm starting to worry that some of these people know other people. It could be friend of a friend doing a little bit of a pass along. But either way, it's worked out in their favor because they're about to get discovered on 155 and become, have their lives changed. So you're welcome, Sub Radio. This is Dear Mario, Count Me In.
I got your picture, I'm coming with you, dear Mario, count me in.
This part I thought, I previewed this earlier. This part I thought was almost melancholy, but then it turns into this kind of bullshit.
This is, great, I love it.
Yeah, it's so good.
I thought it was going to be like...
There's like nothing even... It's like it seems like they took one of their songs and changed only a couple words to be about Mario. Like he said... Because Sam, the reason I picked this too is because I know you've been gaming lately, right? Like you're kind of turning into a bit of a gamer.
I was gaming right up until the moment that we got on the pod.
Yeah.
I'm a big time gamer.
What are you playing again?
I'm playing the game Into the Breach. It's from the studio that brought you Faster Than Light. It's a cool game.
Don't care. But anyways, I thought so that's why I thought maybe you'd know about Mario lore, but some of it is correct. Yeah. When the mushroom hits,
are you allowed to say?
When the mushroom hits, I want to watch the way you take the stage by storm. Oh, I guess the levels are stages. I guess that's true, but still, it's gotta be better. He's not wearing sneakers. Well, you think that's a slur?
Isn't it? Yeah, it's spelled differently, but it is.
Is it really Goomba?
Yeah, man. Only Mario can say it.
What? I didn't know.
You and I are not allowed to say
Why
the
are you
G
always
word.
teaching me new slurs? And it's always a G word. Goombas, known in Japan as Karibo, are fictional mushroom-like species from Nintendo's Mario franchise. That's fine. What's this one that you're saying? Oh, you can't be... It's fine. It's just Italians. Who cares? Fuck Italians that are listening. You can't be racist towards Italians.
I do feel like they don't deserve to be like a protected class or anything.
Well, now that Sam's starting to get kind of like pro-white people, I think it's time to leave the punk news section. Now you're going to tell me that it's offensive to be like, it's a key, picchiotto. Oh, is that?
No, Josiah, I don't think that that's problematic. I think it's pretty epic, actually. That's right. We're talking about the song "Epic Problem." Do you think if you say it in that voice and that way every time, you could I ruin the song?
It's pretty
easily.
It's a
the
terrible
most epic track.
It's a terrible name. The name has aged so badly. Epic Problem.
But it's not their fault that like epic. And I don't even know that other people is being poisoned against Epic, which is like itself like we need like Faith No More, Epic Records. Like I think there was a time before YouTube when Epic still had some sort of
Is it-
epic connotation.
What ruined it? Epic Mealtime?
Epic Mealtime. Epic Mealtime, for sure.
And I can't remember. That's like one of the more innocent. It's not like one of these guys that everyone likes now who's just clearly dying on camera in a car, right? Like most of the food guys now just like have permanent sauce stains on their face and they're barely breathing and they're just like
I think he's just like out the game, maybe.
It's like did you ever see that show called Man vs. Food? And
of course, I loved Man
it
vs.
was so good. And then the dude, because he looked like Fred Savage, kind of, who I guess we needed another Fred Savage because that one was no good. But
we knew we all sensed something.
But then this Fred Savage nearly died from doing the show Man vs. Food. He had to get out the game. I mean, I would if someone told me if you keep talking about punk song with your honey Sam every week, you're gonna die. I would just keep going. I'd be like, you know what? I don't care. I'm willing to die for this. And only this.
This is it. This is the only thing. Yeah, I mean, I think it shows a lack of commitment to the bit, maybe. But not everyone is as strong as you and me. But let's not talk too much about.
Apparently, Epic Mealtime calls volunteers from local soup kitchens to come retrieve leftovers when they can't finish it. So they can't even be bothered to drop it off.
Like the idea of calling and being like, we made like 200 layer dip, but we only could eat the first 70 layers. Like, what, like,
can you put it in your station wagon and deliver it?
Oh my God. We made 30 turduckens and put them inside of an emu.
I mean, that is an epic problem. I think epic problem as a phrase. Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see how the night goes, how we feel about the phrase. But yeah, it's a good start off.
Well, maybe we'll get right into this because I don't know if you realize this, but
Ian MacKaye has a YouTube channel where he eats.
Ian MacKaye has been tubing, but like the song title is a joke. This was a song that the band had for like 10 years prior to doing the argument, and there's an interview I'm just looking for right now where they had a rule.
This
where
website is so cool. Morphism with a Z, and it says "Don't fear change, change fear." Hell yeah!
So this was a song that had been around for 10 years. They had never completed it. It's a song that apparently was here. Actually, hilariously, I think the best interview about this might be in Pitchfork because people wanted to talk about the song because this is sort of like Fugazi at their peak, like as we've seen in the live videos we've been watching of like having all the fans that they had from the kind of 90s and then this like new generation of people who were like told that they were really important. Like this is truly kind of at the peak of their I would say their powers, honestly. So, when the argument comes out, there's a lot of press around it. And so Pitchfork asks, some of the songs are pretty old. Picciotto says that, Epic Problems is 10 years old. And then Pitchfork asks, is that really what the title refers to? Because evidently that was kind of the story. And then Picciotto goes on, yeah, because assembling that song was an insane pain in the ass. In fact, for a long time, there was a moratorium on it. We weren't allowed to introduce the song in practice. If you brought the song back in, everyone would we actually just weren't allowed to do it. It wasn't even allowed to be mentioned. And then gets asked how did it come back, and he says, well, there's parts that people bring in and we all start laughing. There are probably 4 or 5 things that constantly get reintroduced and always elicit a lot of laughter, and that was one of them. But this time, for some reason, we came up with the idea for it. So it's literally this part of a song that they've had forever where when one of them wants to fuck with another one in practice, they will just start playing it. This comes back to this conversation that we keep having, which is how funny are Fugazi? And so having this song where you take the joke of calling the song Epic Problem and it's an in-joke for you in practice, and then you build this song that contains the phrase Epic Problem. And so it's not like this is a funny fucking song. It is, as you and I have discussed, I think, on this podcast and on other people's podcasts, for both of us, our favorite Fugazi song.
Oh yeah, big time. Because it's epic.
Because it's just so epic.
Well, what you just said it makes me think about something to do with Fugazi and their sense of humor and what is, I think, the secret to being really funny and also being cool at the same time is that the best sense of humor is inside jokes, I think. That's always the best. And that's why the pod is so fun, because we're making inside jokes with however many people are still listening. It's so fun.
But they're not you're not calculating jokes for anyone, but it's also the purest way of being funny, which is just you're only being funny as a means of like developing closeness with another human being, as opposed to having, because like, and maybe that's why
it's pure. You're right. There's no motive.
There's a purity to it. And so like, if we were doing this podcast and like literally doing it as a comedy podcast and trying to do like, well, admit like not that we don't work broad sometimes, but like we're really just trying to make each other laugh, and therefore it's not like us being like, please laugh at our podcast. We're like, please like our podcast.
Well, there's been times when, truthfully, we have had talks before where we're like, how do we get people to even know what this is? And then we both thought like, well, other podcasts sometimes will like clip a section, but it's like, how do you clip any of this? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, who would want to hear 30 seconds?
There's nothing that could work on its own. I'm not saying that. Well, maybe I am saying that we're of the same caliber as Fugazi's inside jokes at band practice. That's a pretty low bar. I think we could clear that bar probably. But
I think we could be. Yeah, we might not have the musical output of Fugazi's inside jokes, but joke wise, I think we're funnier. Yes,
yeah, but I think that's exactly it. Like that's why. Yeah, it's just it feels so pure, and it. We recently went to the Fine Art Museum here, and there was like this. I forget what probably some shit about playing with space or preconceived notions or whatever the fuck all the plaques say. But there was this like local band from Montreal, and I can't remember what they're called now, but they're definitely like some Gen X people, and they used to play with Godspeed all the time. And there was this blown up photo that was like an eagle eye view of all these photos pieced together of their practice space. And it was like the most classic, like 1999 practice space with like Bazooka Joe rappers pinned up on the wall and like empty beer cans everywhere and like different rugs. And it honestly like made me very emotional to see that, because I just think that is such a pure place of like bonding, a practice space like that. And that's what this is reminding me of, is just like
totally
like almost Fugazi. That's also why it makes sense that they stop playing shows and they still jam, because it's like there's just like that's more fun probably.
I mean, it's the purest thing. We've talked about this with like things that sound like demos. Like I brought up Nebraska at some point in the last few episodes. I mean, it even comes back to what's good about that Peter Jackson Beatles doc is just like watching the biggest rock band in the world just be Fugazi or be you and me and anyone in a practice space. Like it doesn't change. It's why you and I get so like just doe-eyed when we're watching a couple of kids in their basement cover a song like this, because you're just like, that's it. There's like it is the purest distillation of a thing.
Yeah. So let's quit the episode.
We should stop. We should definitely stop. But okay, I do want to know, like, because we've sort of talked about it again. I think when we did Ain't Introducing, for people who for some reason have not heard you and I talk enough about Fugazi, but that's like an actual like kind of pretty focused podcast. We may talk more about Fugazi on that podcast. When
that was like a real,
It Be Your Life.
That was like a very that's like a more like that's like Chris and Molly. Chris is also the producer of Chapo Trap House, and like it's a more produced show. And I didn't check my input before when I recorded my side, and something was fucked up, and it's like totally distorted for the entire thing.
Amazing.
It's so good.
That's awesome. I've obviously never listened to it. Maybe my side is also blown out and fucked up. But we talked extensively about it, and you and I like immediately, because they were like, "Oh, we'll pick some songs to play," and so you and I are going back and forth, and so it makes sense that we would hypothetically end at FUGUZT with this song, because at some point in a conversation, like just on G Chat about Fugazi, it was like, we got to play Epic Problem because it's the best song, right? And it does feel like this is, maybe it's not coming up as high as fucking Waiting Room or I'm So Tired, on Spotify or Apple Music, but this is a hit, right?
We'll see, but I think it like musically and as a pure distillation, it's absolutely a hit. It's an incredible song. And so, I mean, again, I think sometimes we need to tell our listeners to actually go listen to the song. If you've never heard Epic Problem by Fugazi, give it a listen, because there's a lot that it has like, it actually feels like it's a representation of Fugazi throughout. There's like the dissonant, shouty part and the drums, and like it's not very melodic. And then at the end, it goes into that like Beatlesy zone with some a beautiful chord progression that's like very melodic, and Ian's nice little gentle voice that he busted out later on in the evens, who are also so sick. Oh,
The Evens are so fucking sick, man.
yeah.
And I agree. This sort of feels like, listening to it before we did the episode, this is every single thing that at the very least you and I, and I think we've discovered kind of through this process that you and I like about this band is there. Like the intro is this like, oh fuck, I'm going to explode. Kind of like the Fast and Squared kind of thing of just like, yes, into that like really tight, early Fugazi kind of thing. And then the like kind of open, but it's melodic, but it's not quite coming together. And then you get this like breakdown into we put a breakdown in your breakdown so you can break down when you break down kind of effect through the middle of the song.
That's the epic part.
And then that's what it's so fucking epic. And then you're right, that end where it really does feel like it sort of presages what is going to be great about the evens, like this sort of sweet melody over this incredible aggression. And again, something we stuck on like with Repeater, that the end it's like bam, like the end is like also this like tight whole other part, but it's not like part. It all feels like a cohesive song that just happens to also be a demonstration of every single thing that this band has done well over their entire career, like at the height of their powers.
You know what's really frustrating about that is like I've been thinking
My
about
arms, by the way, it was like ascended the entire time I was trying to get through that because it felt like I wasn't going to get there. And so by the end, like I had my hands up like I was pretending to be a monster,
That's
This
cool.
really, like as you started talking, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like I just sort of slowly put my hands down.
While
saying.
you were talking, or maybe even while I was calling you honey earlier, I was slowly unbuttoning my shirt and taking it off because it's so hot in here.
Right.
So
Yes.
I was saying that's actually really frustrating because, I've been thinking about writing music lately, and I've been trying to get back into the first thought, best thought mentality and leave aside the songs that have been frustrating me that I've been working on forever. But knowing that this one was there for 10 years and it was a fucking beast and then it was worth it to finish it, that's annoying to me. It's annoying when hard work pays off, That's not the lesson I want to learn.
You shouldn't just quit. Yeah, this is the antithesis of, I feel like, the message of this podcast, generally.
It's true.
Unfortunately, the podcast might feel like an epic problem from time to time, but it's not this kind of epic problem.
Yeah, this song is more like maybe we should have actually edited all the episodes early on and put effort into making only the good parts in, but whatever, too late.
No, I also increasingly feel like as I age, I'm comfortable admitting that maybe the argument is my favorite Fugazi record, and it's not in on the Kill Taker. And I've been listening to all of it over the duration of this month, and I will continue through FUGUZT Reunion September edition or whatever it's called. But I'm curious how you felt, because this to me was like the only Fugazi record that like was new during the period of time that I really cared about this band. Because this is 2002, so like Instrument has come out when I sort of like I'm not totally like I'm in grade 9, I think. Like Furniture is a few years before this, so I remember Furniture coming out, but that's an EP, so it's not a big of a thing. So really, it's like End Hits I miss because I'm in fucking grade 8. But the argument is like, okay, I'm like it's the end of high school. There is a new Fugazi record. It came out in 2001. So like in high school, there's a new Fugazi record, and like I fucking loved it because it's that thing of like sometimes the new movie or the new TV show, like there's something to a contemporary feeling, especially when you're young.
Yeah, I think
like
especially when you're a teenager, the new thing does sound the best, usually.
Yeah,
well,
like actually, it sounds the best.
I can remember like being a preteen and listening to classic rock and being like, damn, I was born in the wrong generation. I definitely had that thought. I'm just admitting that for transparency's sake. And then obviously now that I'm older, I think that everyone's doing everything incorrectly, and it sounds like shit, everything, all the time. But I think absolutely like the early to mid 2000s was like all perfect music in my opinion. And thank God I don't have a Jane Doe hoodie anymore. But I feel like I would be tempted to wear it still if I did. Because, I think
You should
that's
get one. I bet
too.
you can get one on Grailed.
It's true.
They're coming back, man.
But yeah, no, so Red Medicine was my first one, and I really didn't like it. And then my friend Alex, who is also, my partner in Free Punk Lyrics, and the really formative, older brother type presence in my life, because he was my dad's student at the time. He showed me so much cool shit, and we're still good friends to this day. But I remember driving around in his Subaru, listening to the CD, and just fucking loving it so much. It was so sick, and it did feel like one of the first records to kind of bridge the gap between liking sort of pretentious indie music and punk music. I mean, obviously not in a Blink way, but it did feel like it really did start to marry those ideas, I think.
Yeah, I also just think it did the stuff that I liked about this band, where it was really melodic. You think about Cash Out as an opener, that's another song that is just this kind of very beautiful melody, but by the end it initially seems like you're getting this more calm version of the band, but it does continue to escalate. Admittedly, this is a softer incarnation, I think, of this band, but at the same time, maybe this really is I feel better looking at it now and realizing how many people do consider this to maybe be the band's most interesting, most fully realized record. And isn't it amazing to have had that be the last thing that you did, and now you just fucking jam together and hang?
Yeah, I know. It's so sick. It's perfect. But some of us have to keep going. Some of us are still here, have to keep making things, keep doing things, keep blabbing.
It's true, but this is even for the people who got to keep doing it, there can be there's a price to be paid for that. So again, a lot of press around this. This is a markprindle.com interviewed Ian.
Weird Twitter
when
ass
the record
name. Mark Prindle.
Yeah, Mark Prindle definitely is the on the Polaris grand jury this year. So once again, it's about the song basically being written in 1990, kicking around. It was an epic problem, which I love. But this idea that he then spends this time thinking about what is his epic problem. So I really love this. So at some point that led me to the idea of what an epic problem might be. An epic problem is a problem of the ages, I mean, I'll have to think back. My relationship with my lyrics is a strange one, so I'm going to have to think about what the actual lyrics are. But as I remember, it was a song about appearance and how quite often people think of me specifically as somebody who doesn't have any problems. And everything's just fine. They don't have to worry about me. And it also results in a little bit of abuse because they figure I can handle it. So with somebody else, they'll be like, oh, don't give that person a hard time. Okay. Basically, it's about how people are constantly dunking on Ian and he doesn't understand it. So I'll use a very simple example, for instance. Are you familiar with Poison Idea? Mark Prindle says, yeah, they at one point had a 12-inch EP, and the cover was this close-up of a giant spread asshole, and the record was called the Ian MacKaye EP. I don't know those guys. I've never met those guys, and I had not met them at that time. I may have met one of them since then. I didn't have any problem with them. I didn't know anything about them. But that was, hey, what did I do? What did I do to deserve that? At some point, I read an interview with them where they were like, well, or no, actually, I think the guy was just who was distributing it contacted me and sent me a copy of it, and he said, we just wanted to let you know we weren't going to hide this from you, but we did this, and we're not trying to hurt your feelings. It's really aimed at people who think you're a god. And I can't say that it hurt my feelings because I just thought, this is so ridiculous. But it does actually make me feel bad because it's such a pointless exercise. Fight crime. Don't fight nice guys. What the fuck did I do? Furthermore, they did not understand, and I think that people who often do this as a sort of tactic, well, it's not really about you, it's about the people who worship you, this sort of thing. What they don't understand is that by assailing me, by throwing stones at me or my name, they don't think that they are injuring me, then maybe they just think I'm impervious. They must think that I'm God. So in fact, they are reinforcing the notion that I'm not a human being because they're taking shots at me and expecting me not to fall. Do you follow? Yeah. Over the years, I've had a lot of inconsiderate and sometimes cruel and sometimes destructive pranks done in my name. And it doesn't hurt my feelings personally, but it is again a discouraging reminder. So the point of Epic Problem anyway is that I'm actually a human being, and there are sets, there are scenarios. I do actually putting things out there because sometimes I'm not necessarily going to discuss or share with people, but at the same time, it's something that I'm wrestling with. It's an epic problem. It's well, how do I go forward? I just have to go through the lyrics. I can't remember the rest, but there's a bit more stew to that. But anyway, that's a couple of potatoes. this interviewer just be like, yeah?
Mark Prindle, you got to edit, bro. You got to do a little bit of editing, first of all.
You got to edit, but it did make me. I mean, I remember this, but just for you and I to be able to look at, of course, the Poison Idea Ian MacKaye EP that basically got us Epic Problem is great. It is just.
I think everyone, from my cursory understanding, I think that everyone liked Poison Idea as like a cool T-shirt band for like 5 seconds in the 2000s, but it seems like everyone hates them now. I haven't met anyone who seems to still admit to liking Poison Idea, but there was a time when that was a thing. People like, I mean, I'm just hanging out over here, kind of not wearing a shirt, talking to Sam Honey. So
that's it. So
I don't really have a dog in the fight.
But you're right, because it did remind me, because I remember, this is just real quick, because I forgot about this, but it reminded me, the Feel the Darkness cover is Tiny Tim. It's the cover of God Bless Tiny Tim with a gun pointed at his head. And when Burning Love, Chris Callahan's band after Curse, did their Toronto release party for Rotten Thing to Say, which is, of course, a sick record because it's a Chris Callahan record. It was the exact same cover, but with Rob Ford, who was the Toronto mayor at the time, kind of before he had become like an SNL character when he was just an insanely shitty mayor, pointed a gun at Rob Ford. And so I just feel like all of these things, like, basically... So Poison Idea, as much as they're like a T-shirt band for a certain type of person for a few years there, still
this
still
has some
something...
real I made that bitch famous energy. This Ian MacKaye versus Poison Idea is very Kanye Taylor. And I would love someone to leak footage of Amy Farina on the phone with Poison Idea giving them permission to use Ian MacKaye's asshole. I mean, yeah, it's got to be pretty weird to be Ian MacKaye, but the fact that he acknowledges any of it just makes it probably more fun for everyone. I mean, not that, we haven't poked fun at Ian MacKaye at all, but if we wanted to.
What's funny is I think about like how much we made fun of everyone in Blink-182 during the Blink-185 years, and like, have we made fun of have we actually made fun of Fugazi like at all in the course of this? We've been so reverential.
I was kind of thinking for a FUGUZT reunion, we might have to do some of the worst songs we can think of, maybe, to make up for it. Just to really capture the spirit of disappointment that comes with a reunion.
That's true, yeah. We're not even going to play the hits. That's going to be the worst part. So let's look at some live videos, because the live videos also all contain... The other thing in this song that
just
makes
a perfect
it the best
still,
song,
first of all, that you have here is already just absolutely perfect.
It's beautiful, eh? Just the Rick, extremely
classic,
like 90s 2000s shirt.
Yeah, classic vintage fit T-shirt.
Yeah,
it's so good. I think that's my boy. Gee.
I mean that good biggie. So this song, along with a few of the songs on this record, has double drums, which almost no one does well. Like, I really think this album and some of the Kylesa stuff where they had two drummers were kind of like I can't really think of a lot of times where like two drummers is mixed in such a way that it doesn't sound like you're just sort of trying to be big, or like, I'm sure there are like jazz things that I don't listen to, but I mean in the context of punk, the sort of broad confines of punk, I can't think of a more like effective usage of double drummers than on this record and then on this song. Like, I think this is the best song to have two drums on it ever recorded.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. I think like the OCs, I can't believe people are still listening to. They have two drummers sometimes. Apparently they did like an 80s hardcore record recently. I don't know. I can't do that kind of stuff anymore. Listen to things, but
it's not worth it. I feel like I saw some people tweet about that, but
yeah,
I don't fucking care.
But
me. Fugazi did tour in 2002 with the guy whose name escapes me, and you're not listening to this podcast for that, who like played percussion and second drums on the record. Jerry Busher.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Terry Bozzio or one of the other great percussionists, Bobby Rock.
So this is Epic Problem in Louisville in 2002.
such a sick riff.
It's so fucking sick. They're playing it like on a school gym stage.
Oh,
Like
Joe Lally
Spectrum
did a
Center.
big stretch. He's tired, boy. Do you think they hired the other drummer because he was also bald?
Yeah. Second drummer auditioned with hair, but they were like, no. He also does it so much more like it's more aggro live too.
It would be so funny to see this exact setup and performance on stage at Warped Tour.
Yes.
Just imagine seeing this. They got a
Oh
fucking
my
bell.
And there's just like a band sort of like setting up like on the stage right beside it with like confetti cannons and
Yeah.
gigantic canisters of Mountain Dew. We're gonna watch a little bit of this, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
because it's just so good. Joe Lally just
He's
shredding
holding
right
it
up.
down.
like the drums are so locked in.
Yeah, that
And
is
I don't think
crazy.
are there monitors even on stage? Like they really are. They're playing in a gym. Like I don't even know how they're hearing each other in this situation.
It's also weird how good it always sounds in these stupid rooms.
I know.
Oh, there's
They must-
monitors,
you
I guess.
Are there? But I just mean in general. Like I think there's gotta be a band who like, because I think you do see bands that are like, I know how to make my amp sound good on stage, as opposed to people who only know how to like play loud. God,
I
it's
also
so
just love,
fucking good.
It's so funny how there's just always like giant gym lights on them too, instead of like,
Oh yeah.
oh. Insane.
Oh my God, it's
absolutely
so
insane.
The two drums are just, it's disgusting.
Oh, he's tuning while he's playing too.
Wow.
Love that. That's such a baller move.
Yeah, he's still going. I don't think he's getting it right though. You can hear it now. Oh no, he got it.
Ah, he got it. He nailed it. Oh,
Oh, we'll hear it now.
it's so like strummy too. That's like a Billy Joe Armstrong chord progression.
Yeah. I like that people are clapping and singing along. Like, I don't think there's a lot of other Fugazi songs like that, right?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. The other Fugazi songs that people sing along to kind of suck. Whoa. This song is
It's so-
so good.
Oh my God.
It's too good.
It's too good.
I love you, Ian. If you're listening to this, you're the best. I'm so sorry that people are mean to you. Holy shit. That is crazy.
So honestly, there's no better. There's not a ton of live videos of this, but there is. And we just watched that whole thing, and so there's some kind of subpar stuff, but there is an audio only recording of them playing it as part of the encore at what would be their last show. So this is November 4th, 2002. In London. I don't know how close to Tunbridge Wells London is, but it's at least. It's at least
So
like
for those keeping track, that's
spiritually-
5 years before the Poltergeist setting and 13 years before Kate Blanchett went into escrow on the Poltergeist
Yeah.
League house.
Yeah, so let's listen a little bit to the final. What would be the final live performance? Do you think they knew? Do you think they knew?
We talked about that a little bit with our guest this week. I mean, I talked about that.
Great.
I'm not
So
going to
don't
pretend
tell
that
me.
you, but I don't think that there was anything, no spoilies, but I think it was mentioned very briefly, and I'm just ruining everything by still talking right now.
No, that's good. But you know what? Let's not discuss it now. So if you are interested in this conversation, keep listening for more. But here is a little bit of the last Fugazi performance.
What month was it in? Was it in August?
No, it was in
Remember those last Blink performances where you can hear that they hate each other?
Yeah. They just like no one is trying.
Travis is like playing so fast.
Like when you hear it, you're not like, yeah, this band is tough. Like listen to his voice.
It's perfect.
It's amazing.
That had like a minor
person
threat
who should
sound.
go home.
That almost had like a Teen Idol sound to his voice.
Yeah, totally.
Incredible perfection.
Yeah, it is nothing short of incredible perfection.
Well, before we get to the epic covers, can I just show you a couple little things? But I don't want to, like, I'm not going to go off topic today, but here's a couple things just that aren't quite covers. This is I Love Music 123 Patrick has an epic problem. This is Patrick. I think his epic problem is snowboarding related. As you
Nice.
can see.
Snowboarding is epic. Does he? What's it called? What's like the snowboarding term for crashing?
I don't know. Is
Does
there one?
he eat shit?
Well, it says he keeps
Does
falling.
he not shred the gnar?
He keeps falling. At least it's entertaining. He had some pretty epic ski fails, but I didn't get him on film, so it's not very epic. It's like he's also
Kids are like basically tobogganing and like gently slipping down a tiny slope.
But the other thing that was
Those are not epic problems.
the other thing screwing up my search was that there's a street punk band called Epic Problem, which is like obviously the phrase epic problem, other than maybe other ways that it might be used, on YouTube, like you mentioned. It's gonna, like, they must be named after the Fugazi song, but they're just like straight up, like, they actually did a split with that band that I know some people from the pod Needles Pins from Vancouver. They did a split with them, but it's like gravel voiced, like like what? This doesn't sound like Fugazi.
No, this is like
They have like a million songs.
listens to the business once.
There's lots of songs that are like bah, 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 like Oscar like Muppet.
It's so cool that like that's also punk, and like I would just like never want to know those people. I don't. It's like a real like we just don't talk about that.
Well, we should do Oi Vember or something. But okay, so that
Do you know anyone who like listens to Oi? Maybe you do because it's like some weird
it's cool.
Montreal.
Oi is cool right now. It's like definitely very.
Oh, of course,
it's very
yeah.
cool right now. So, that's just it's okay. We're just retiring together, you and I. But then there's a venue in I think Florida called Epic Problem. So every band has played there. I thought this would be a cool one for the pod because this is Paul Baribeau and Jason Anderson playing Damn It.
Oh.
And Paul Baribeau always came up on the.
I got kicked out of folk punk.
We always would talk about him on Blink 155, but this is so. The piano and the talking at the start is so
And this
church.
is Epic Problem.
Yeah, there's the Epic Problem venue. I think he said I got kicked out of folk punk, and everyone laughed. But I think a lot of people were actually kicked out of folk punk. Pretty much most of folk punk was.
We watched them take off like shooting stars. But we were.
I mean, I guess I would have. I don't know why I'm surprised that Paul Baribeau is like so earnest live, but.
And go like, hey Travis, come down to Preston's bar. But I don't know. Kind of busy. Dating this woman. We have a reality TV show.
When is this from?
2013, I think. So it's. That's like so fucking embarrassing at this point. Like that made me so uncomfortable in so many ways. I can't.
Yeah, I mean that's real. That's real 2020. Everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally, this is uploaded by Epic Problem, but this is just like a sick, scary ass. I don't think it's a Fugazi cover though. This is. I give in to sin. I think this is someone whose English is not their first language. They wrote, I give in to sin because I like to practice what preach.
Ooh.
But this is like kind of. This is better to me than that Paul Barabeau piano thing at this point.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
It's like highbrow time now.
And you can't give it like a cute speech around this.
Exactly. Because it'll just sound like cool. It'll just sound like art. So let's take a brief moment that would be indistinguishable from the pod continuing if we didn't acknowledge it.
Yeah, let's make sure people know.
So let's take a very brief moment that will again it'll just snap right in and out, and it'll be as if nothing happened for you. But for Sam and I, it actually will probably be 2 or 3 minutes at minimum will have passed in our lives. And
it's like a science fiction story.
It's like a really subtle and boring science fiction story that really has no bearing on anything. So let's do that. Well, moving along with the episode seamlessly and naturally, let's get into the cover section of the songs. Cover songs.
One of my favorite sections.
Cover songs of Epic Problem by Fugazi. So, this month started off with being reminded of some of the tried and true old Fugazi punchlines. And I think you're right. We've been so nice to them this month, but others perhaps have not been. I feel like maybe it's because I was just reading about Chris Rock's incredible Oscar quote that he said today. I just feel like I'm now presenting at the Oscars by accident. I'm creating some sort of scenario. Did you not see it? It's really good. What he said.
No,
I'm. I'll let everyone
reading
read
the New York Post.
It's I mean, maybe a bit of a content warning on that one, but due to extreme slappability of what he's saying. But I was thinking about the Oscars. Maybe that's why I'm sort of presenting it like that. But people were pretty mean to Fugazi. A lot of the old. Speaking of Ian MacKay's hats, a lot of old hat critiques were coming out, including one of our friends of the show, Shannon, was saying, talking about Fugazi being like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and whatnot. Well, how about we watch the Red Hot Chili Peppers cover Epic Problem by Fugazi? So this is John Frusciante, kind of everyone's favorite pimp of Red Hot Chili Peppers, the chill noodler who's in the band sometimes, not in the band other times. He's just doing whatever. I think we actually had a Fugazi adjacent band last week with Warpaint too, but this is live on stage.
Yeah.
Briefly sound check or something. The Frush giving his best Fugazi. Here we go.
Ooh. Fucking win. What's that? Separate problems not a problem for me. But I'm working as far as I can see. Outside, front it's all illusion, set theory.
I thought maybe there was a broken string or something, but the rest of the band is just watching him like, what the fuck are you
staring at him? That was great. Flea, I feel like, is not on stage. Maybe there is like a broken bass string or something, but they are just hopeless and helpless up there.
Yeah, they're just standing there watching. Anthony Kiedis just staring at him, so confused by everything.
Yeah, looked really perplexed.
I love it, and I think this is 2002 or something. It's right around, it's fresh. Yeah, Spain 2002, so it's fresh. fresh argument days. Moving along, there's a lot of just kind of standard rocker covers of this song. This is Slacker VK with a play along of Epic Problem.
I feel like I could play this.
You should learn
I
it.
can't.
You can play it. It's just
I can play this part.
it's not intuitive, maybe.
Yeah.
It's not sticking with the golden whatever. There's a lot of different frets
Is
going
that
on.
a Jaguar? Is that what he's playing? Is that what this is?
I think it's a Jazz Master, maybe, but I don't know. Hopefully, no one will double check.
This is a cool looking and sounding guitar.
So it's kind of standard rocker stuff.
But his like key performance is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's sick. Like it shows you how much cool shit's going on because it's 10 years of work right there. I mean, we're only at 5 years of work, and our podcast is already this good. So I mean, I can only imagine.
It's true. We are our epic problem is going to be truly epic.
So a couple more normal ones is Angelo Chiavarini, sort of another Italian name. Kind of sounds like a surf song with these drums.
Yeah, it's very Jan and Dean.
I mean, I almost don't really understand what would be the point of covering it like this, but
Yeah.
it's probably fun, but
Yeah, like maybe it's just I guess the point is like having a good time. Are the drums real?
I think so. It just sounds like a weaker. Like, don't release it then. Keep it as an inside joke.
I mean, it's just so good though.
It's so good. So this band is called Dead or American, another kind of standard one. This is from.
Kind of ska.
Yeah. Dead or American is a Scottish alternative rock band from Stirling, Scotland. Maybe it sounds ska because it's Scot, is what you would mean to say. It sounds pretty cool with the Scottish accent.
Yeah.
But yeah, this band
I feel like
is.
they're playing like slightly different notes, and it's great. I like it.
This is a little bit of a band of some kind. They recorded an album with Kurt Ballou from Converge.
Oh, Kurt Ballou.
They supported many bands over the years, including Oxes, the Icarus Line. It's a real blast from the fucking past.
Yeah. Okay, I like this. I mean, it's just I like the song.
I forgot about that band Oxes. Maybe I should listen to them.
I remember Icarus Line. I don't remember Oxys there.
Okay, so Dead or American. Now we got the School of Rock doing another kind of rockin' cover of it. This is the School of Rock Seattle.
Yes.
Little kids singing it. It's so sick. Whenever I see like a sort of older person in the band, like even like 18, I just hope that they're a teacher. Because it'd be so devastating to like accidentally sign up for School of Rock when you're just trying to get out there, make some new friends in a new town, and then you're like jamming with a bunch of 9-year-olds.
Children, yeah. The sort of lead guitarist that doing the Ian part is playing like a real like
a Jackson or something.
Ibanez,
Yeah.
and he has like big cargo shorts on and is hitting those harmonics. He's playing it like real hate breathing.
I love the little boy singer. There's one kid that on stage that's just a hype man. He doesn't even have a mic. He's just like fucking going for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he's wearing a Red Hot Chili Pepper shirt. So there you go.
This is great. How old is the drummer? This is
All
so
these
sick.
kids seem so little, and then there's just this like shredder man.
Yeah, the Shredder man again looks like maybe 17, I think.
The way he's shredding and kind of showing off so much makes me think he's not an instructor at the school. I think he's just
No.
accidentally been lumped in with these little boys.
I mean, they're all really good. Like, the drummer is small, but he's amazing.
They're sick, but I just mean like imagine he's like hanging out with like in between things, like trying to talk. Like what do you talk about with all these boys?
Yeah, that's true.
Fortnite?
I think it's possible that they maybe they're the same age, but they've just aged different.
Right, just he's the early sprouter. Well, there's a couple more in the rocker section. This is a band called Fugazi. I almost didn't play it until I realized that it's in, I think, Newfoundland. This is a tribute to Fugazi at a place called Valhalla.
Oh, and this thing is sponsored by Molson, so I guess you got to drink their beer and they'll... thank you for it.
Yes.
So
I don't know if we
Canadian.
get anything from Molson, but Molson is getting your patriotism.
Yeah, St. John's
I
NL.
don't drink,
Is that
so
Newfoundland?
drink for me.
Yeah.
And if you're going to drive...
The drummer,
someone
or
else is
the
doing it.
guitar player rather,
Well, don't you
is
do it.
just in
If
his
you're going to drive, do it in
stocking
the arcade.
feet.
If there is an arcade still downtown.
Like, that's clearly his thing, you know?
Here's an epic problem.
Oh. Here's an epic problem. Well, he did have a little point. These guys are fucking...
Yes.
It's a big
Oh,
night
this is like
for
a multicam
Fugazi.
situation.
Oh shit, this guy has a...
There's at least 3 angles in this
I'm gonna have to
video.
spend some time on this channel because this guy has a 27-minute video called 90s all ages Calgary punk and hardcore.
Oh. Like, are they, because I mean, like, obviously, like, St. John's is foggy. Like, is this a one-night thing, or are they, like, St. John's is, like, dedicated
I don't know.
food? Like, does St. John's have their own?
Do you think anyone's here watching them?
I didn't hear anyone really react.
Yeah, but this is one of those places that's so tightly mic'd. Like, some
Yeah,
guy went
that's
to,
true.
like, mic school for 20 years so that he could mic Fugazi at the Valhalla pub in Newfoundland.
So it looks like Fugazi might have only been a one-night thing. They did cash out merchandise, epic problem waiting room, sweet and low, bad mouth internal.
Honestly, it sounds pretty good, but the fact that it sounds good to me is very depressing to me as well. I feel the fact that I liked this has made me really feel a darkness inside of myself. And I think that's more on me than on the fine gents and Fugazi, but I don't know.
I more think like I would love like if you happened to be in St. John's for the night, you know, and you were like, what's going on down on Water Street or wherever it is where all the pubs are, and you're like Fugazi, like a local joke Fugazi tribute band, like
But they're not
that's perfect.
You think this is a joke? What's a joke about
Well,
this?
I'm just saying calling it Fugazi is funny,
Right,
Because it's
okay.
foggy there.
You definitely, if you had stumbled upon this bar, you would have taken a selfie in front of the stage, I think.
100. I would have met the members. Like I would have like I'd follow all the members of Fugazi on Twitter. Like we'd be friends for sure.
This is crazy, though. This is like pretty deep treasure trove of VHS footage of like old punk bands in Calgary, DBS 98 in Calgary and stuff. So I'm gonna have to
What?
do some digging on this channel. That's pretty sick. But Fugazi was great in a way that made me feel very depressed, but that's more on me than you. So shout out Fugazi. Up next, this is Professor Muntke with Epic Problem cover. I just thought this one was an interesting vibe with someone drumming already. They're in some sort of dark cavern. The kick drum has the new Pennywise from the new It printed on the kick drum. And there's bongos, and they appear to have some kind of argument at the start. There's a lot of like I think this deconstructed part is kind of the best. The actual cover is whatever.
It is. Oh, I thought you meant the deconstruct part of the song that he was just
Oh,
playing.
well,
You're
that's true, too.
The second breakdown. No, this is like, you know what's funny? I feel like Mets was the first band that I saw like do this very extreme lighting thing, where it's just like they just have one work light kind of pointed at them. It's cool. It's a good aesthetic if you're rocking.
yeah, that's true. But I just don't. I I just can't conceive, like, do you get that Pennywise It thing on AliExpress? I'm trying not to say Ally Express anymore. Is that where do you get a Pennywise It kick drum? What a peculiar item to have. It's so confusing to me.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not seeing like a real.
This is a band called Feniary, I think. They also
Reading what I'm finding out of the drummer of Pennywise.
they also have a side project called Turbo Gringo, which is quite interesting.
Okay.
Actually, maybe seeing it in daylight, it might be hand painted, which is even creepier. Like, for some reason, liking the It reboot enough to do something like that really makes me uncomfortable. Like,
no, as it should.
that's not cool. So let's move on to hopefully I don't really know what this is, but I had to, to be honest with you, there's not a lot of great covers of this song. So I thought I'd play you this. Is called When I Was Your Man, Medio, Epic, May, Sip On, at Throat Problem, XD, at Quarto Records. So I don't know what this is, but it does have Epic Problem in the
same band,
title.
but it feels a little bit bigger now. A song on the radio, but it don't sound the same.
This is by Dolly CEO.
Now friends talk about you, all it does is just tear me down. 'Cause my heart breaks a little.
Does this seem like a
when
Fugazi
I
cover to
hear
you?
your name.
I think so. Yeah. No, I know. This is on Steady Diet of Nothing, which it's probably the record I've spent the least amount of time with. So that's what this is.
Ooh, too young, too dumb to
Well, then I found some on
realize
SoundCloud that were called
that
Problem
I
Epic.
should've bought
There's
you.
2 of them that are titled Problem Epic. And
Hey baby, even though I hate you, I wanna love you, I want you.
Yes, I want to listen to more music like this.
I love this song. This song is just called Problem, right?
Why can't you leave?
I don't know. What is this?
It's Ariana Grande Problem.
I gotta have it, I want you.
So there's another Problem Epic. I don't know why it's. Maybe this was the challenger. It's the same. I don't know why it's epic.
Hey baby, even though I hate you, I wanna love you, I want you. And even though I can't forget
This is by Diane Quizon 1. The last one was Janelle Rivera 1. They both have 1 on their name. Why would they both say Problem Epic? Is just because they're such epic versions of the song, or
Hear me. Oh my God, I've been muted for so long. I sneezed really hard, and I just got to the mute button on my mic in time, and I sneezed and I whipped my head.
was it hard, or
because I
was it
sneezed
one
so
of your
fucking
little
hard.
wussy sneezes?
No,
I wish
it was
we
like an
could have heard-
uncontrollable
Now
sneeze.
I don't believe. Now we could have had proof of your sneeze, but instead we've just only ever heard a little.
No, I've been discombobulated for almost a minute here. So I yanked my headphones out of the computer because I moved my head, snapped so much, and I fucking hurt my neck. And then I came back, I thought in quite reasonable time to be like, oh my God, sorry, I just yanked my headphones out. And then I just kept talking. I was like, why are you not acknowledging me? Am I hello? Oh no, did I die? And then I looked down and it was still muted. So is this how this song sounds? I thought that was just like a Problem Epic.
Yeah, maybe
But
that was.
there's
just
multiple versions of this. What the fuck am I listening to?
Well, let's check.
And
out,
I understand that I didn't hear.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry about it. Let's see some other interpretations of the phrase "epic problem," if we may.
Hello?
What are you doing now, Sam?
What the fuck's happening? What's
What
happening?
do you keep doing? What are you doing now? Is there a ghost?
God damn it. Oh my God, God damn it. There's no ghost. This is like when I was doing the snorting sounds. I
You
won't
fell
be fooled.
asleep last week. No one knows
Yeah,
if you're doing a bit anymore.
we're doing. I'm not doing a bit. I was muted. I was troubled. Please go on.
This is by Manny the Monkey. It's called In-Depth Analysis plus Send of an Epic Problem, Sloppy Dino Madness Training Vlog. So I don't know if this is about the song or not, but
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another training vlog. I'm psyched. I want to get some training done.
Interesting.
A bit cloudy, a bit rainy day here
Why
in
would
Vienna.
he like kind of lean down into the camera?
Ideal for the climbing
I
gym,
like it.
basically.
Feels really like I'm seated, but he's standing, and
so
there's power.
It's like he's a
See where I
giant.
stand again.
Yeah.
And, try some pretty hard projects that I invented recently, and maybe
Invented
also we'll see. But anyway, I need still to get my breakfast in because I'm starving. So, and what I want to do as well is pre-cook my post-workout meal again because I think it's going to be a hard session
So
today.
this one's 17 minutes long, but
I'm going to need some carbs and protons after this one. So
Carbs
I'm
and
going to cook the
protons.
post-workout meal, and while it's cooking, we're going to prepare the smoothie to get some fuel in. And yeah, let's get it done.
I'm kind of charmed by this. Wow.
Today we're gonna make another very easy, very simple to prepare dish. We're gonna make polenta with soy granules.
Terrible.
Do you make yourself? You seem like someone who either never would or absolutely would make yourself a smoothie every day. Do you ever treat yourself to a smoothie?
I mean, I love
which I'm already
smoothies, but I would much
soaking at the
rather like
moment.
just spend an absurd
And
amount of money
at some point,
on
when
it.
everything is
than
done,
make
we
it
can add the
myself.
polenta. Simple as
Nothing
that.
is more annoying than cleaning up a smoothie. It's not worth it.
No, I
don't
think
understand.
I more
Soy
think
granule
nothing
like a
is better
little
than
later.
spending like $15
We're
on
gonna
a
prepare
drink
this,
because you don't drink
smoothie.
alcohol. Like that's
While the veggies
if there was
are cooking,
$15
got this
bottles of water, I would
beautiful
probably buy them.
bananas I got at the market today. Amazing.
This is so
thanks
disgusting.
to our sponsor,
Take 4
Liquid
of these
Death.
bananas. Super simple recipe.
We must have talked about this
Smoothie
before.
looks
How
like
do you feel
shit.
about? It's also the
Breakfast is
shot.
ready.
Like everything is so.
Shot.
Good
The
lord.
most diarrhea-looking smoothie.
There we go.
What's your banana take, Sam? Do you like bananas?
Yeah, I love a banana. I don't eat enough of
Simply
them.
amazing.
They're so
Well, lately the
gross.
bananas have been going bad in our house. They're not getting eaten fast enough. So
Yeah, they're
I've had 2 straight weeks of banana bread, which has just been a blessing.
That's true, but I mean,
To me, banana bread is the bananas are made for banana bread, and sometimes they get eaten before they should be a banana.
I mean, I don't want to. I've already admitted that I've already admitted through context clues that I'm not anti-capitalist. I don't want to sound pro-food waste, but I kind of feel like making banana bread is the ultimate teacher's pet move. I mean, just it's like literally compost
just to be
already.
clear,
Just throw it out. Like just put it in the compost if you have that, or just I don't know. It'll find a home. I don't think you need to
I don't
worry
want to
about
like
it.
steal.
It was like
steal
30
classroom
cents.
valor here. I don't make the banana bread because I'm too.
Goes into the
I
backpack.
have, as with many men before me,
Simply hang some
weaponized
bolts
my own
to activate my.
incompetence.
Took me
Oh,
another
maybe this is
5
the epic
minutes, and
problem.
after about 2 minutes of rest, I did
really
all my 3
became much
campusing
louder.
problems with another
yeah,
2 minutes
campusing
rest in between
problems.
each, as I like to do it for my warm up, as you know. And as you can see, I also incorporate
that
some
was,
smaller holes into these
in-depth
problems so that
analysis
my
plus
fingers
send of an
really get
epic
started.
problem,
And
sloppy
people
to
ask
Dino
me,
Man,
like,
this training
why do you
video.
campus for warming up? You know, that's a pretty big stimulus for
Sorry,
beginning.
I'm trying not to stay too off
and
topic.
2 main
here,
reasons here,
but
real quickly.
This one is
this way,
You got something you want to play real quick?
Yeah, this is race bike epic
Bye.
problem.
You win, you leave.
Oh yeah, you will
This is the
die.
squad boy uploaded this.
You will die, and I will live.
There's some teddy bears
Okay, so
fighting with
yeah,
each
there's
other.
stuffed animals fighting.
2, 3.
Yeah.
That kid is dressed so cool though.
I think he's gonna go with me and do.
That kid is
and do
dressed
the
like he's from
shortcuts. Yeah, he
the
will not.
original Cash Money
Oh no!
Records
Oh no!
lineup.
Ow!
It's funny how like I think the only
Oh
thing
no, you
that
won't.
is
Oh, he's
like
going that way.
maybe really
and I'm going
easy
this way.
to.
I'm
And
doing
parody's not necessarily the word, but like literally, have you ever
He's
seen
not over
like a movie that has footage like this of like it's just 5-year-olds
the
being
shortcut.
precocious with a
He's
camera
over
that
there.
hasn't nailed what 5-year-olds are just like. Like it's the most imitatable
True.
human sort of experience is like,
Just, like,
being
shrieking
5
and
and annoying. Like I've never seen this done badly in a movie. Like to the point where watching it for real, I'm like, oh yeah, I
Yeah,
recognize
this is a movie. This kid died in a car crash in the movie or something.
Yeah, where they're gonna cut to like a parent watching this on a TV, just with a glass of whiskey in front of them, crying, holding open their phone, and you could see they're maybe gonna call their ex, like the child's other parent, but they just can't bring themselves.
Well, to be
do it.
clear though, it looks like the squad boy's still going strong. He's uploaded bully skit, how to smoke without a vape, a tour in my room, a magic trick, Pennywise came to my house. Pennywise energy this week. That's scary.
Wow.
Well, maybe
Pennywise
this will be
gets-
better. This is from the channel Sponge Series Show, a reviewer and a logo fan. This is SSS movie Marvin's Epic Problem. This one seems to have...
Alright, guys, we're gonna do Epic Battle today.
Oh, we got Mario.
Mario and Sonic.
A lot of stuffed animals. Oh, you're Beanie Babies.
Pikachu! No, Pikachu, it's gonna be freaking epic.
There we go, epic.
Alright, who's up for a nice game of beatdown?
This I would
Beatdown,
I would say
beatdown.
Puppeteer
You know,
sounds a little bit
I get
older
on
than
you,
the
and then you
Squad
get on
Boy
Pikachu.
Sponge Series Show.
I like that game.
This is on the
Alright.
internet. This is an
Attack,
animated
you're
video.
right. What
that
the?
just- Once again, I'm imagining sort of panning out to
just
just
have-
like a weeping.
We need, he just
Are
surgery.
you fast forwarding to see if there's
Mario's
Surgery to
fully
go for your
bald. Look how bald Mario is with his head.
Is Mario bald under his hat?
At least according to, I don't know if this is considered canon, SSS movie.
So I think I'm gonna take him for surgery. I don't.
Okay, so Bowser is going for surgery. I do think that Mario's dick is on the internet, like officially from a official Nintendo manual. But you know, let's.
It appears like that toy is often referred to because he's like a half head. That toy, and so when you take the hat off of Mario doll, he's bald.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, this next one is definitely got to be real. This is uploaded by Neil Bennett. It's called Epic Problem. It's a Google thing searching loss of power from engine. And then noises underneath the car, Google search. Louder engine note, Google search. Engine harder to start, Google search. Causes of high engine temps, Google search. Car being raced by taxis, Google search. Nearest muffler bearing specialist, Google search. Search on. Create your own youtube.com search stories. What do you think that was that we just watched? It's kind of just what I'm wondering. Neil Bennett, there's no description. This was in 2010. What do you think that was?
It was a short film. It felt like a short film.
Okay. But I mean, there was
a man slowly. It's the way that the internet enables.
But what
does not only enable but encourages and stokes our anxieties by providing a bottomless well of interconnected pieces of information.
Because some of those things though were not even negative. I think it said nearest muffler specialist. That's kind of a neutral thing. No pun intended for the car enthusiasts out there. I know that is a way that a car can be neutral. Well, here's this one I think will be good. This is Epic Problem Gambling Consultancy.
Okay. Do you gamble? Are you a gambler? I'm sure we've talked about this.
British adults gambled in some form last year. No, I don't gamble. Do you?
I mean, if I go to a casino, I'll say I'm going to spend
fucked up
$20
kerning
and I'll
on this
spend
video.
Like $5.
Yeah, same.
And I do a 50-50. If I go to a Raps game or a Jays game and I see someone selling 50-50 tickets, I will. If I'm ever confronted in a
50-50, I don't think 50-50 is gambling. I think that's like a wise investment because the few times I've done that, I've already been planning how I'm going to spend it, all the life-changing.
Yeah.
So this is pretty much just about like gambling in the UK and, is it good or not? We don't really have time to decide. But here's Anne Murray. This was uploaded by Anne Murray.
Oh,
The
damn.
Epic Problem by Anne
epic.
Murray. The Epic Problem.
Oh,
this is a different Anne Murray.
Switch there.
Oh yeah, because
This
Texas
Anne Murray
Girl.
has a shirt that says Texas Girl, where
So Anne Murray trips, as you see. I think that's supposed to be a trip. I mean, she didn't fall, but what happened? Oh, that's why.
Oh, the shoelace.
The shoelace is undone.
Oh, tying it up tight.
Somehow taking forever to tie those shoelaces.
Does it take you this long to
What
tie?
kind of weird ass
Really
shoes
making a
are
meal
those?
of it.
Well, that's classic Anne Murray.
Now, do you tie your shoes every day?
I mean, I've really developed a bit of an epic problem of my own with shoes. I have so many different
you
pairs.
tie and untie. You tie
I have
and
so many
untie
pairs.
shoes.
Well, the thing is, hang on. Let's just see how
they're
this
good.
ends. Let's just see how this ends.
Oh, she walks away.
Starring Caitlin Cole, The Epic Problem. Oh, edited and directed by Anne Marie, so that could have been Anne Marie, actually.
That's
we don't
true.
know.
We will never.
That could have been.
We assume. I mean, I think she's the only Anne Murray.
Sometimes I'll wear shoes that I know are going to come undone, but I still don't double knot them for some reason because the laces aren't long enough, and then they always come undone while I'm walking with Sarah, and I have to wait for me to crouch down in the middle of the sidewalk, and
I mean, a double knotted shoe simply looks like. Here's the thing. To me, a double knotted shoe is like the same as wearing a helmet or like not smoking. In that it's correct, but it's just like looks.
Imagine
uncool.
riding your bike with no helmet on, and a cigarette hanging out of your mouth, and your shoes are undyed. That's like the coolest guy on earth. That's
not
that's
untied, just
that's
not
like
double
French
knotted.
New
Just see,
Wave
just-
shit. No, for a while I was kind of thinking that maybe fully untied could be a vibe, but no. Now I care too much about my shoes. I like my shoes now, unfortunately.
What kind of shoe? Because we talk a lot about your. I feel like when I'm seeing or experiencing your drip, it's really only from like chest up.
I know. I think you gotta be
how far that drip goes.
It goes all the way down, baby. But that's for an IRL thing. We're overdue for something IRL. We got to do something.
I think so.
Okay, this one must be. This is High Epic Problem Solvers.
Hey, problem
Okay, I
solvers.
don't know.
Like hello,
I
Epic Problem
cannot wait
Solvers.
to see you on September 8th. I hope you all had a wonderful
September 8th
summer.
will be
I missed you
the
so
FUGUZT
much, and I am
reunion.
insanely excited
Maybe that's
that
why
we're
she's
going to
like-
be able to be in the same space.
Okay, this is a
together.
teacher, so
We are
that's
gonna
not really.
have to be distant, but we
This is
are
an
going to be
anti-teacher pod.
together in our classroom.
No, this one-
established
I
that?
could not be more happy.
Ian
about
Mackay
it.
is straight edge, right? Or you
So,
what? Like,
with that, I will just say
because this
Nah,
next one
I'm
called
not gonna make
Epic
assumptions,
Problem.
but-
This next one's called Epic Problem is uploaded by X Blogs X Daily X. So I'm hoping this will be some Mackay type shit.
This is be a straight edge blog about Ian Mackay.
I recorded.
Oh.
We are having a serious bad report.
It's just more kids being cute with stuffed animals. How come all of these videos
And there's
are?
all this smoke coming out of the house. Isn't that just like laundry exhaust on a cold day?
It looks like the laundry exhaust.
That's that.
But there seems to be a supervisor of some sort, a guardian there,
Yeah, I can.
who's stoking the flames of them believing it's an epic problem.
So, yeah, you guys, this is bad.
I see your face.
I know, this is bad.
It's just like
Don't keep going like that. It's cool.
What do you think about it?
It's really funny. I'm gonna fall asleep.
Yeah, it's kind of
Like
warm.
it's just warming your feet.
maybe that is just a tall kid. I thought that was like a
Let me see
mom.
your pet.
I think because the
Oh,
camera's
yeah.
so low, everyone looks so tall.
Back up.
Yeah.
It can do people's hair. And dry
Oh,
up
it can
a
do
little
people's
bit.
hair. Put your little toy in front of it and.
Man, I love the idea of
Okay,
like
that's-
being a kid and having access to a video
Spiky.
camera and being like, "What's this?" and just spending hours by like a dryer vent,
Crazy.
they're clearly thinking the house is on fire.
That's so sick. Well,
It's awesome.
You know what? We made it. We're still friends. I'm gonna play you 2 actual covers, and then we're gonna.
Oh, I was enjoying this.
Yeah, it's fun. It's been a while, but this actually
They were all sweet. Like they weren't. Sometimes when you do that, it's like alarm, home alarm reviews or whatever. So I feel like this was literally just like children playing with stuffed animals.
Well, there
and, like,
was somebody-
I mean, it feels creepy. If I did this on my own, I think I'd be really like weirded out. But instead, it's just like
in a
I don't
group
know,
when
just
it's
having a
2
nice
men.
time. But it's me and a pal doing
After
it. It's,
dark on the internet, one of us is shirtless. Yeah, it's true. It's fine. I think the one that I didn't play was someone talking about like how the epic problem of our time is critical race theory being taught in schools and whatnot. So I kind of stuck with kind of the teddy bears. And
right.
Anne Murray.
You stuck with the family.
But
side, yeah.
honestly, like I didn't skip a bunch of. There was like no like ukes or acoustics or any. There was like almost nothing for this song. Like it's absolutely not a hit at all. We're alone in our feelings
Weird.
about this. No one cares about this song. Other than
Everyone
us.
asked questions when they did interviews around this record. Everyone had a question that was like, "What's the epic problem?"
Maybe because
that's
at that time they're like, wait a minute, you can use the word epic about anything.
right.
And then this guy's like,
"It's all Fugazi's fault."
and what time is it? Right? Hang on, I just heard the word epic, and it's like low key lunchtime. It's mealtime right now. Oh my god. Okay, this is by Kill Screen with 2 X's. This is really cool.
What kind of like YouTube channel do you think the different members of Fugazi would have? Like, what type of YouTuber are they?
Oh wow. Okay. All right. I think Guy is like the kind of YouTuber that almost with the same reckless abandon as these little kids we were just watching, where he's like making like Godard films, maybe by accident half the time, and like grabbing the camera and moving it around in the room. I think, well, Brendan Canty, I mean, I think he, obviously, we haven't talked about this at all, but Burn to Shine is like one of the most underrated things in the world, I think. That's like such a sick, so he obviously would be, he already was like a proto-YouTuber for like Tiny Desk concert type shit. He could have done some cool shit with that. I think Joe Lally probably does some sort of reviews of some kind of like nondescript product that you would never think that anyone has ever even like thought about before, like maybe like sealant.
Like he's reviewing bread tags or something?
Yeah, exactly. Like, but like all the videos are like
bread tags from around the world.
But the videos are like 47 minutes long and they're in an unfinished basement and they're incredible, but no one watches them. I'm lost about what I think Ian would be doing. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's almost impossible to imagine. I think that Ian MacKaye has said yes to so many music documentaries, and he goes on them and he does great. I think Ian MacKaye, even the interview with Mark Pringle or whatever his name was, if you scroll through that, there's so many giant blocks of text. I think Ian MacKaye's like media home would be being cut off by Amy Goodman on Democracy Now!, being told that there's no time left. Like that's where he belongs. Like trying to get a few more things, and as Amy Goodman is like, we got 30 seconds left, Ian. You know, that's like, I think that's where he belongs, and I think that no one's figured that out yet, so that's why he's going to keep doing rock docs.
Okay, I buy it. That's a good answer. Can you not also see him as somebody who like just has like a home repair channel? But like again, it is Ian MacKaye. Like it's just like he's gotten really good at like DIY plumbing, and he wants to share those. So it's just those like 11, 12 minute kind of.
But it's one of those ones where he's still ranting about, because he loves to rant. Like he just can't. He can never not rant, and he wonders why.
They always make these handles in a way that they break much earlier than they say they're going to, and it's because these companies are, we know, using subpar materials and still charging. And of course, this toilet handle maker. I mean, they used to make the toilet handles in the Baltimore area. They're a Maryland-based company, of course. Of course, they've left. They still get tax breaks. The company is registered in Delaware, so it doesn't even pay any taxes. It's not even like a particularly good Ian. But,
I think it's no. Like, did you look through this interview? Like, it's mostly like 7 paragraphs.
And then it was like, you know what you're talking about? Yeah, and then he just keeps going. Yeah. I'm like, right on. Yeah.
Why is he talking about
like,
Bob?
I get it.
Why is he talking about Bob Hope? I just want to see what this question was. Something about, even in the earliest Minor Threat lyrics, your moral ideas seem pretty solid. I was just wondering, were there things you did either artistically or personally that you look back and go, geez, I can't believe I did that when I was young? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs that end with the phrase, and if you talk to Bob Hope now, Bob Hope might have a different way. Well, he's dead now, but if you talk to him back in the 80s, he would really have a different outlook. He would have managed it a little differently. Do you follow? Yes. And then 2 more paragraphs. So, I mean, he doesn't... I think he would start telling you how to repair something, and then, he'd go off on the handles. This is Kill Screen with 2 X's with Epic Problem.
Not a problem for me.
Is that Kate Blanchett?
Yeah, and inside I know I am broken, but I am walking as far as you can see.
This is fucking awesome.
And that's it's all production, it's all illusion, set scenery.
Yeah, I wonder...
I've got this epic problem. This epic problem's not a problem for me.
I love the don't forget to wear sunscreen vibe.
Epic problem. This epic problem.
What happens later on? Oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Okay, so that's Kill Screen. And then finally, I gotta hand it to my little bro, Johnny, who was on the pod recently, made his big debut. It was a lot less disgusting than the other brother Jordan pod debut, but it's nonetheless very Hughesy. So check that if you haven't. Two Hand and Ale exclusive, patreon.com/155, I think, pod. But he did a covers EP, like probably, it must have been like 10 years ago at this point. And he covered a grown-up song on it, which was really cool. And he covered Sufjan, Granddaddy, OMD. Oh, 2010. Oh, my God. That's 12 years ago. But he also did a cover of Epic Problem, which is like, because to us, this was the hit. And so I stole it off of his Bandcamp and put it on our YouTube so I could play it and watch together. But this is my brother Johnny covering Epic Problem. So I think we can do final thoughts over that. I mean, incredible. I'm biased, but it's so sick.
I mean, no, this is fucking awesome, man. Oh my god.
So I think my final thought about Epic Problem is like, it's the beauty of an inside joke. Like, it's not really a hit, but those who know it know how sick it is, and we get to have that secret together. And that's like, there's no greater joy on this earth than not even gatekeeping, but just having a cool secret that's like something sick.
And maybe in that sense, it in this other level is like the thing that we like about Fugazi. Like the thing that attracted us to this band when we were younger is that like older, cooler people liked them, and so we wanted to like them so we could speak that language. Like we wanted to be able to, you know, find that sort of common ground. And this song is just like a little further down that road, and it fucking rules.
Wow.
Oh my god.
See ya at the FUGUZT reunion. Actually, though, that was a great segue and a perfect way to end. But I do need to make a little, audio note before you hear the guest this week. I was so excited to talk to Chris Richards from the Washington Post and Q and Not You. Someone that I've been following forever, and I talked to him about a lot of things that I'm a fan of his about that are not just Q and Not You or Washington, D.C. music scene, including I talked to him about how he was the first person I ever saw give the Arcade Fire a bad review. But this was last week. So I just want to clarify. It may sound a little bit flippant. Obviously, everything that has come out is horrifying to hear, but I just didn't want to. We want to make sure it doesn't seem like flippant or something. This happened last week, so that's why there's just light giggling about the Arcade Fire as if they're still on top of their game,
tittering about. Yes,
yeah,
good clarity.
I'm very excited to welcome to the show someone I've been wanting to talk to for quite a while. You may know him as the Washington Post's pop critic. You may know him as being a member of the band Q and Not You. Welcome to the show, Chris Richards.
Hello.
So Chris, there's two things before we get into the topic this week. There's two things I've wanted to talk to you about for a while. Two things that I love that you've done. The first thing is you were the first person I ever saw kind of publicly admit what so many of us were thinking, that the Arcade Fire sucks. So that was something I loved. I gotta hand you some respect for that.
Thank you. I'll take it.
And that was kind of.
It was almost 10 years ago at this point that review ran. I was looking it up the other day. I think it was 2013. So
yeah, do you feel
it's
like
been a long time.
You really you really broke some sort of barrier? Because I feel like I actually was searching it before we talked because I was like I was also trying to think when that was, and there was like a Slate article defending you. Written in very like 2013, like epic, good sir kind of tone, but it was defending you. And then some of the tweets that were criticizing you by other music journalists have since been deleted. So I don't know. I mean, do you find that you? Here's the thing: I used to be a music journalist, and I used to talk a lot of shit as well. Not as well. I don't think that I'm not saying that you're a shit talker like I was, but sometimes having these opinions when no one else has them yet. You can make enemies. Did you make enemies from that at all?
Maybe. I don't want to say like I don't regret the review because my kind of philosophy on any kind of music criticism is you're just basically reporting on your own experience, And I know doing it in the Washington Post adds layers of complication because suddenly you're speaking through the megaphone of an esteemed publication in the public consciousness or whatever.
It says democracy dies in darkness above it.
Right. So. I know. Exactly. So we're not messing around. But at the same time, I mean, honestly though, like my philosophy for any kind of, even criticism right today, it's just like, what is my experience of this thing? And you have to be honest about it, So irritation is part of the listening experience. And I remember when I wrote it, I was like, man, this is really going for it. And I spoke to another critic who covers another realm of the arts in our department. And I said, hey, have you ever written something that you felt like, you went too far? Did you regret it? And she told me, she's like, as long as you're not taking food out of anybody's mouth, like let it rip, like say what you have to. And I was like, that's a good point. So I know if I give a bad review quote unquote, to a top tier artist, the one percenters of the pop music world, I'm not hurting their ticket sales or their album sales. I'm just putting an idea out into the world. And I would never write a review like that of an unknown band from the area or something. It's punching up, punching down, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I do think like annoyance and irritation and being fed up and tired of things. I mean, that's part of how we listen and how we feel. So if we're not being honest about that, what are we really doing?
True. And the punching up, punching down thing, that's probably where I made the mistake. Cause that irritation watching local bands or watching a battle of the bands or something, that's real too. So you gotta know when to bite your tongue sometimes.
Yeah. I guess it depends who the audience for it is too. I mean, there is an alt weekly in Washington DC called the Washington City Paper. And in the 90s, they were really aggro about the local scene. And I think in their minds, they thought that they were treating DC with respect. You know what I mean? Like, let's treat this like a vanguard arts community and let's give really harsh, stab in the back reviews to these groups and musicians that nobody's ever heard of before.
Yeah.
And I think they thought in their minds, like, we're treating DC just like it's New York or Berlin or whatever, you know what I mean? But in actuality, it was just like, hey, check out this band over here from Fairfax, Virginia. Guess what? They're horrible. Don't ever listen to them. And I just was I was making music at the time, and I just found that so unhelpful. And I'm not one of these people who thinks like, music criticism's job is to be like extension of the PR apparatus. Quite the opposite, but I do feel like I love the job at the Post now because it's a really good balance of being able to try to express those irritations and punch holes in the big stuff and also elevate the music that's happening in our community. Because I think it's really important for people to know, what their neighbors are up to and what they're listening to and what they're making, So you will not on my watch, you will not see like slam dunking of local artists in the Washington Post. It's just not good for anything.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah, that's, where this will be placed in the episode, I have a feeling I've just dunked on a whole bunch of terrible covers of Epic Problem. But the other thing, before we get into the topic, the other thing I wanted to mention, I think something I've loved for years, and I feel like not enough people know about it, is your solo record, Risk Paul Rick. It's so good. I was revisiting it before we talked, and first of all, I couldn't find it anywhere. And second of all, I never pieced it together all these years later that it was produced by Tim Hecker.
Yeah, that's right. Strangely enough, I became friends with Tim Hecker via Pitchfork. He had mentioned Q and Not You in an interview he was doing in like 2002 that he had listened to our record. And I had been a fan of his music, so I immediately found an email address for him and wrote to him and said, "Hey, this is so great!" Like, because I just felt like, aesthetically and sonically and culturally, just worlds away from him. But I had a huge admiration for his records, and we just kind of became buds. We played a show together in Montreal, I believe, that summer of 2002, 2003, and then he and I just became pals. And I had worked on basically the album you're talking about. This was Paul Rick album, was kind of like songs that didn't fly in Q and Not You, or like riffs or ideas that didn't take hold in the band. So I didn't want to throw anything away. And I thought I was at the time I was very much like, everything that is created must be preserved. You know what I mean? Like, don't be wasteful. You know what I mean? Like, to throw things away is like, a disservice to yourself or whatever.
Because you didn't have a critic being mean to you. That's why.
Well, that's actually not true. We had lots of critics being mean to us. But in actuality, probably this ideology came from reacting to that in some kind of way too. Just hyper valuing yourself. You know what I mean? And what I was working on. So anyway, I took all those pieces up to Ottawa, where Tim was living at the time, and we recorded it like on Cubase on a desktop computer in like 3 or 4 days. And then he went in, kind of did the mixing and put all those beautiful treatments over the stuff. And it was a great thing. And, we're still friends. I haven't seen him in a few years now, but I love him dearly. He's got to be certainly one of the smartest people I've ever met, and among the funniest too, which is just like the greatest combination of human, like someone who is like insanely brilliant and their intellect is soaring, 10,000 feet above you, but they still know how to make the best jokes.
Yeah,
I adore him. So,
well, yeah. And anyone listening, that's definitely I feel like a underrated piece of the output for sure. Like why is it not on any services? Do you know?
Just to be, I don't know. There's no real reason. I like that it's kind of obscure, I guess, or it's just cool to not be out there with every single thing. I feel weird. I feel weird talking about it right now, actually, a little bit.
Sorry. Well,
no, it's okay. It's okay though. But it's definitely, it was made and it's out in the public. But it's cool to like not have everything in everybody's face all the time.
It's true. So. I just think it's usually. I guess like being the pop critic at the Washington Post, you'd expect it to just be some like old nerd, and I guess you probably are like a nerd in some ways, but you've done a lot of cool things too. It's just kind of surprising,
Thank you very much. There's a little story I tell. I did a punk scene when I was in high school, and I went back and reread it maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. It had been in my basement or my parents' basement or something, and there's a whole steez, like Slater Kinney was just blowing up at the time, like in 1997, and I had this whole rant about how like the old balding white man rock critics at the Washington Post think a certain way about them. And I literally became exactly the thing that I was ridiculing as a 17-year-old. So I don't know if that's like some kind of karmic punishment or justice or what.
Must be.
But it's pretty.
I guess, so, I haven't really prepared a formal interview, but I guess what I'm thinking about is I feel like you being at the Washington Post from a distance says something maybe about Washington, D.C. as a place and an appreciation for Discord and Fugazi even and stuff like that. I mean, do you think that is that some sort of flow that makes sense?
Well, it's a small town in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Obviously, I don't want to say it's like disproportionate in the sort of global consciousness, D.C., but it has the feeling of a small town. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like you're in Tokyo or Los Angeles or New York. It feels like you're in Cleveland or Minneapolis. What I'm trying to say is like the musical communities are tight and they're in touch with each other, and it's not absurd to know people who work at the State Department or NPR or National Geographic or all these other kind of, it's just like a really kind of small town and a connected town. And the local music culture is really, really strong, not just in punk and hardcore, of course, but, in go-go, bluegrass, all kinds of different traditions. The musical communities in DC are really, really tight. And those people have, vocations that they do out in the world and work in interesting places. So DC is kind of connected that way. But I would tell, if you have time, I can tell you this story. When I got hired at the Post, I was actually in Q and Not You at the time. I had just gotten back from our first tour, and there was a guy named Bob Massey. He played in the band Tsunami on Simple Machines, and he and I were roommates for a little while at one of like the quote unquote legendary punk houses of the time called Kansas House, which was in Arlington, a few blocks away from where Discord is. And when I got back from tour, I needed a job, and Bob said, well, you should come work at the Washington Post. They have this great part-time gig that I do where like I answer the phones and sort the mail, and it's all in the style section, which is basically the daily arts and culture section for the Post. He's like, you should apply. And I thought, well, okay, that sounds cool. And applied for the job, and I got it. And then when I got hired, it was, like 20 hours a week, and the schedule was super flexible, and some of it was nights, some of it was mornings. But everybody who had this job was in a punk band. Kathy Wilcox from Bikini Kill worked there. Allison Wolf from Bratmobile worked there. Michael Cotterman, who was in Kid Dynamite at the time, worked there. Later on, this guy Brett Lyman, who played in Measles, Mumps, Rubella, worked there. And we had this little system where you could be in a touring band and still have this really hot, it was a really good hourly wage at the time, and you also got healthcare. So we all took turns going on tour. So I would go on tour October, I'll be back November 1st, and then your band can go on tour. And then when your band gets back December 1st, her band can go on tour. And we all kind of worked it out. And we had this really great supervisor who, I guess she liked hiring, weirdos. I asked her about it later on, and she's like, I just found that, the musicians in the punk scene in DC were very interesting and very disciplined. Everyone would show up on time. And I was really surprised. I thought, well, these are rock and rollers. Maybe they won't roll up. This is this woman, Mary, who, was many years older than us, and just a lovely, lovely person. And it was just this really cool organic thing. And that's how I got my start at the Post, through punk and through hardcore, weirdly enough.
That's so cool. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, that's really, I guess, surprising. Just maybe it's because like the role of newspapers now is just, even probably since then it's changed in a lot of ways too.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So,
I mean, it was surprising to me because I rolled up the first day, and Kathy Wilcox showed me where like the copy machine was. I mean, I might as well have been like learning how to fax things from like Debbie Harry or something. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like, this was one of my rock and roll heroes, and she's like, "Oh yeah, the bathrooms are over there, and this is where we take out the trash. Here's the code for the voicemail." It was like the most mind blowing day.
That's so
of my
cool.
life.
So I want to. I guess that's kind of a good segue into like being someone who played music and then ends up being on Discord. Was that similarly like? Were you a huge, or were you? I mean, it'd be amazing if you're like, oh, I've actually never heard of your guys' stuff. Oh, who is this Ian Mackay fellow that's emailing me?
No, not at all. Not at all. We, everyone in Q&U grew up in the Maryland suburbs outside the city. But we were part of the scene as soon as we were able to start getting into the shows, which were all ages in DC. So everything was really accessible to us at a young age. And we felt a real sense of belonging immediately, all of us, even though we didn't really know each other at the time, and you eventually start meeting everybody in the scene. So it wasn't like Q&U wasn't our first band by any stretch. People had other groups, but it was the first band that really, really, got on the road and really, really took it seriously. Or just committed to it in a really intense way, because we were all at the perfect age. It was like 19, 20, 21 when the band started. But we had come up through the scene. And, I say now that the all ages scene in Discord, the all ages scene in DC, it works in both directions. You're welcome if you're 13, but you're also welcome if you're 30, 40, 50, 60, older. You know what I mean? And the older generation supports the younger generation. And I make it sound like it's some kind of it's very familial. Even though it still has kind of like the cool mystery of a rock scene, it wasn't like you would just roll up and be like, Alec Mackay, please mentor me today on how to play parkour, whatever. Like it wouldn't be like that. But everyone was just approachable, and a lot of the people in the scene did zines. I did a zine at the time. John Davis and Q&U did a zine. So that was just another way to connect with not only our peers who were playing music, but the musicians in the scene who were older than us. And the older folks just really supported the younger folks, and it really felt like a family. So yeah, of course. And then, of course, like the holy grail would be to be involved with Discord, And then by the time that started happening and we met Ian and got him to come out to see us play a few times, yeah, completely surreal, and completely surreal now, because I still, as you'll find out from the conversation we're about to have, I hold Fugazi in the very highest regards. And it is very abstract to have that person who's making that music be a friend and mentor to you at the same time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So I guess, what was your introduction to Fugazi, and what's your record?
Yeah. Oh, good question. So my introduction was, they were one of the, I think probably the first punk band I really got into. I grew up in Annapolis, Maryland, and I came of age like right after all this tremendous emo music came out of Annapolis, which was like Moss Icon and The Hated and all that kind of stuff, Vermin Scum Records. I got into punk like right after all that stuff stopped happening, and I had no awareness to it actually until like 5 years later. So this girl moved to town our freshman year of high school. Her name was Deanna. She had Bikini Kill t-shirt, Sonic Youth patch on her jacket and was just like instantly the coolest person in our high school, like on the first day of school. And she had just moved to town, and I was wearing a Pearl Jam shirt the first day of high school, and she kind of clowned me. She's like, "You like them?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You should." And then like literally, I don't think it was the first day of school, but the first week of school, she's like, "You should listen to this." And she started sending me home with cassette tapes. The very first two she gave me were Steady Die of Nothing by Fugazi, which holds a special place for me, and Damaged by Black Flag. And then she just started schooling me like month after month. And by Christmas of that year, I thought of myself as like hardcore, you know, as much as a 14-year-old freshman in high school can think of himself as such. So Fugazi, yeah, they were there from the start. And then I think the second punk show I saw was Fugazi at the Washington Monument in 1995. By that point I was 16 and like old enough to be driving or bumming rides to shows. And, you know, it's one of those iconic shows at the Sylvan Theater with thousands of people. The Washington Monument is behind you. The Washington Monument is cool because it's on the cover of It on the Kill Taker. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt, I mean, it was not lost on me as a kid. I was like, this is incredible. Like, I feel like, I mean, I felt like this must be this must have been what it was like to see Jimi Hendrix or something in London before he broke or whatever. You know what I mean? I knew that it was a special thing immediately, and I wanted in completely. And, you know, and the Sylvan Theater, I don't know if you've ever seen this before. It's just like a little band shell on the National Mall outside the monument. And it's very easy to get up on it. So behind Fugazi, there's all they call them stage potatoes now, is the derogatory term for people who hang out on stage. But, you know, they were up there and we saw people that we knew from other bands and like, oh, there's that kid from that school. And that guy does that zine. And John Davis from Q&U actually was up there. We're like, oh, isn't that John talking to Shelby from Frodis? Like, and it was like, wow, the border here is like so porous. You know what I mean? Like, you can literally just go climb up on stage and stand behind Guy's amp and watch the show if you want to. I was obviously too timid to do that, you know, second punk show of my life. But it was just, yeah, totally accessible. And we were all in. And so then to answer your question, like, what's my record? Man, it really alternates. I was a Red Medicine guy for a long time. I'm kind of into Steady Diet now, almost like in a contrarian way, because I think it's so underloved. And it has such a kind of like a Spartan dryness to it that none of the other records have, which I have learned in hindsight from talking to them and listening to interviews about it, that I think it was the product of them kind of like in a mixing board stalemate, you know. It was one of the first records they produced without Ted Nicely, and I think they were just kind of all slowly turning up the dials of the volume until everything was just cranked all the way. It's just like this kind of this flat, desolate sound, and people knock it, but I love it because it, you know, I think each of the records has like a really awesome sonic fingerprint, and even if that one was accidental or whatever, I mean, the songs totally rip, and to kind of have them presented in this very like nuclear winter flatness, I really love it.
That's okay. I mean, everything you've just said, I'm firing on all cylinders here. First of all, how lucky to be a teen and get to see, like, so does that mean, I mean, it's almost sad in a way that, because for me, this used to be a Blink-182 show. So for me, it's like, it sounds like you may have missed out on liking some terrible mall punk. So, I mean, has that shaped your, as you engage even with modern music and like terrible emo is back in style the last few years, has that made it difficult to sort of connect with the zeitgeist?
Yeah, I'm sure probably in some ways. I mean, part of being in DC was just having like a high standard, like in every sense. There's a line that Henry Rollins has in Get in the Van, which I'm not quoting it exactly, of course, but it's something like, I'm not a snob. I just know what I've seen, which is like good. So sick. You know what I mean? Or just, I think it's like, I can't forget what I know.
Yeah.
I'm not a snob, but I can't forget what I know. And it's just like, man, that is like the realest real talk. I just love it. And I feel that way to some kind of degree.
Yeah.
I heard you on a previous, when you invited me so kindly to be a part of this, I listened to another episode of yours, and I think you were trying to suss out like the age that someone is too old or too young for Blink-182, and I'm 43 years old, and okay. I think your guess was 44. I am also at 43. I am also too old for Blink-182. When they came out, it was like a deplorable thing, and I'm actually trying to like unwire my brain because as you know, like their influence on the culture is massive. To me, I just feel like I'm living in a bad dream when I hear that. I'm just like, what? How can this be? How can Blink-182? So I need to listen to more of your podcasts. Forgive me for not. but I want to understand. You know what I mean?
I don't think you should listen. As a professional music critic, if you listen to our show, you're going to tank your career. Don't do that. It's going to destroy your brain. But that thing you're saying about rewiring your brain to understand something is actually for me, so I'm 37 now. Unfortunately, my birthday month is coming to an end. It's come and gone. I've been talking about it all month. It's real. It's more important than talking about Fugazi. But no, I'm 37 now, and for me, I liked Blink-182, and I liked because I actually grew up on like Tooth and Nail Christian pop punk stuff. When you just mentioned Frodas, I was like, oh, Tooth and Nail, hell yeah.
Yeah. What about Blenderhead?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my deepest Tooth and Nail literacy.
But so I knew, like, I was like loving MXPX, but then I like also got into Godspeed at the same time. Somehow it was like very confusing.
Oh, cool.
But through local shows, I grew up in Vancouver. I learned about like the Blood Brothers, and then I learned about the Locusts. And for me, it was like my introduction to punk and hardcore was like the sassy, don't tell Lizzo that I'll say this word, spaz music. It was what they called it back then, that kind of stuff. And so for me, like Q and Not You was actually, that sounded the most relevant to me at the time. And then I remember, I've talked about this on the pod a bunch, but all my friends were like, oh yeah, if you like all this stuff, you should check out Fugazi. And I bought Red Medicine first, and I fucking hated it. I thought it sounded horrible. Wow. Like Birthday Pony, I still think of it as being like the most annoying song I've ever heard in my life. And then, because CDs were so expensive back then, I had to sit there and listen to it over and over again because I wanted to get my money's worth. And then I convinced myself it was good. And now I love it. So it's kind of like, that's something that I don't think we do anymore very often with music.
Yeah, I wonder. I know people grieve the changing soundscape all the time. And I try, and part of the unwiring actually, and like not to get too meta here and layer it up 5 times, but like I'm also trying to unwire myself from that to be like, oh, remember when you like had to like commit $17 and commit the time and like exactly what you're saying, sit down with the compact disc and listen to it 5 times and really give it a chance because you've invested in it already. Wasn't that better than it is now where you can just get anything at your fingertips? Maybe. I just don't want to believe that one is more superior to the other. Like if you were to like approach me as a 14-year-old and be like, hey, would you like to listen this way where you've got to like mow all these lawns and then you can get these 3 CDs? Or would you like to just like go into your parents' office and spend the next 6 hours listening to anything you can imagine? I think I'd pick the second one. You know what I mean? Like, and I think, and maybe I'd be richer for it in some ways and poorer for it in others, but I try not to like get to like, oh no, the kids today. But there is something to what you're saying, this idea of like spending time with some music. And I think, I guess my counterpoint to, or my conclusion as I sit here and think it out loud for your audience right now, I apologize. I think that life is long and there's always time to come back to things. And anything that ever caught your ear or caught your attention, if you really care about music, you'll probably revisit it and try to hear it again. And actually part of like the pandemic for me has been going back and re-listening to a lot of like hardcore that I poo-pooed on or was too snobbish to even entertain listening to when I was younger, and I'm finding like an incredible connection to it. Part of that connection is like the fact that I think the circumstances of the pandemic are very similar to the ones that we've been living under, or that I was living under when I was a 16-year-old, feeling isolated, feeling powerless, feeling angry, feeling alone, feeling like, this world is going in the wrong direction and being aware of injustice and making it hurt. You know what I mean? All of those kind of circumstances, I feel like 16 again. Maybe this is my midlife crisis. I don't know. But I'm just in touch with my teenage self, like in a really cool and rewarding way. And it's been awesome to kind of go back and re-listen to things. So I'm going to add Blink-182 to that list of bands to go back and try to give another chance.
Maybe you should listen to the pod then if you're going to get into Blink-182. Yep. But okay, so Q and Not You, you've signed to your dream label. You release your first record in 2000, correct? And then the very next year, Fugazi releases what many people think is their masterpiece, Calls It Quits. I mean, you were like right in the midst. You're like, they're your label mates now.
Yeah, well, it didn't feel that way. They still felt like, I mean, if you want to do like a high school analogy or whatever, we were still like the middle schoolers and they were the high school seniors or something at that time. We had deep reverence for them. We never missed a show when they played in town. And if they were in Baltimore or Richmond or a festival nearby, we'd be there too. I'm surprised actually we didn't drive to more things like in Philly and New York and stuff. I think that was part of like our scene. I don't know, superiority complex or whatever, like it'll be best when they play in DC. But we held them in admiration the whole ride, and it didn't feel like, oh yes, our colleagues are putting out their album as well. No, not at all. And argument. I know they took a long time recording it. I remember that. And I remember being very excited for it because I just thought like the deep studio time records, Red Medicine and End Hits, like they were just getting cooler and weirder. And then when it came out, I remember being so pleased with it because it kind of scratched both itches at once. It sort of had all of these, it embodied all these sort of traditional ideas that they had been working on and chipping away at, sonically, lyrically, conceptually for the entire ride, but it also had that really hyper considered sonic touch, you know? An Epic Problem, actually, the song we're going to talk about today, is really almost like that, you know, in a perfect little capsule. It sounds like almost every era of Fugazi in one song, but with this really, I don't know, cultivated, nuanced, sensitive touch. And it feels like the instruments are so communicative with each other. So when people call it like their masterpiece and, you know, they went out on a high note, like I can never argue with it because it really feels like they kind of got to this point where they were, I don't know, their complete selves all at once. And I remember kind of feeling that when it came out, and I thought it was great. And, you know, of course we jammed it nonstop. It was exciting to go see them live. It was always so awesome to see them live before and after an album came out. Because, of course, you hear the songs you heard live on the record. That's a huge thrill. And then you get fluent with the record and then want to go hear it again when they let it rip on stage. And that was incredibly exciting. So, yeah, it was an awesome time for sure. And then the other part, too, it's like, oh, we had no idea it was going to be their last record. And they never really even broke up. You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of became like this, like, what's up with them? You know, Q&IU actually played their second to last show in London. And it was the only time we ever played with Fugazi. You know, one of the happiest days of my life, no doubt. But we didn't know. It wasn't like, oh, well, that would, you know, I would have been weeping and destroyed if I knew that they were about to be done. But they just kind of like played it super cool and just faded out and didn't make any fanfare about it not really happening anymore. And, you know, and that other part of it too is like the door is still open, I guess. Like maybe they will play again. I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, I could talk to you all day, but let's stay. There's so many threads I wouldn't go on. But I mean, I think you're absolutely right. Epic Problem encapsulates kind of everything about Fugazi all in one song. There's so much going on, and I think it's the best. Personally, I think it's the best Fugazi song. I mean, it's just
wow, awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
It's so sick. So I guess I don't know if there's anything else you think about it or want to say. There's something that I think is similar to Hue and Not You, and it is kind of just. Maybe it's the bridge or there's a break where there's like some really noodly guitars that you don't hear actually a lot in Fugazi songs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have no kind of like delusional thought that they were listening to us and putting anything of ours into their music. No way. And we were so indebted to them musically. I mean, I feel like, you know, it's like, oh, were we just biters? Were we uncreative? You know, because there's so many like really heavy Fugazi gestures in the early Q&IU music, especially. But I think it's just like, this is the band that taught us how to play. Like we learned what a band should sound like, what they should do. You know what I mean? Like how they should comport themselves and how they should present themselves on stage. All of that was learned by watching them, you know? And it really, rather than thinking of it like, I don't like to think of like, actually, here's the thing I like to say. Instead of influence, I like to think of this idea of inheritance. You know what I mean? I don't mean inheritance like I bequeath my fortune to you. I mean like there is an older generation that is passing down ideas consciously or not to the younger people and they're absorbing it. And that was, I mean, they just gave us our education in so many ways. So if things do ever sound similar, it's just because our vocabulary is their vocabulary. It's like a child the words they learn to speak are from their parents. You know what I mean? Like it was really like that. So like any kind of like similarity stuff, you know, was there. I mean, but like, you know, I was listening the very end has us kind of like bam, 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 you know, and we have a song that went like that on the first Q&IU record. But of course we learned how to do that from Fugazi.
You should see
in
them.
Other songs.
You should sue them.
Yeah, great. So it's just like this thing that, they're just like part of our musical genetics, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Well, I guess that's probably it. I guess since you're so close to it, something I've been trying to figure out this month while we're wrapping it up is like just trying to, and I feel like it would almost be boring to ask him directly. So I like to ask people around him, like, what do you think Ian MacKay's sense of humor, like, do you think he like secretly watches The Big Bang Theory or something? Or does he have some sort of secret comedy? Like what's his comedy like?
I am so glad you asked this because I heard you mentioning it in the other, the previous podcast I had listened to. And I don't know if this is a surprise to people. Ian obviously is completely determined in how he presents his art to the world. Some people find him to be very severe. But I will tell you, and this is not me being silly or whatever, he is one of the funniest people that I've ever been around. Part of it is because he has the reputation of being this serious person. So anything that he does is funny is amplified by that, because you're contrasting, growing up on Minor Threat and having your brain tissue formed by this intensity that this person has created. Yeah. And now he's like joking around with you. But he is incredibly, incredibly funny. People don't believe me when I say it. He's so funny. Last time I saw him, actually, I was going to interview Don Zantara, who is closing up Inner Ear Studios. I was writing a piece about it for the Post. And Don and I, it was still heavy COVID time, so I asked if we could speak outside. So we're out in the alleyway, Don and I doing this interview. And suddenly this minivan is like approaching down the alley, and then it begins to accelerate like toward us. And then Ian gets out of the passenger side like it's a scene from Mad Max or something. He's like out of the passenger side window going, get him. You know what I mean? Like he like fake charging us or whatever. You know what I mean? His friend Mark was driving the van. Like, he's like, I don't really want to kill these guys. And it's just, it's just like, he knows how to make an entrance. That's awesome. I should say, another time in the studio, we had this really great experience where, I don't even know how the joke started, but we were talking about like, Don Zantara, when he records, he always likes to have snacks on the console, there's like a little table between the mixing board and where the bands sit. And he'd always have like some chips and some hummus or some nuts or whatever. Nice little healthy snacks to chomp on. And we were talking about fortune cookies somehow. And then we were joking about like tortilla chips that could have fortunes on them. So then Ian would, like, when no one was looking, would like sneak a Tostito out and take a Sharpie and like write some piece of advice on it and then sneak it back into the bag. And then we'd be talking about the mix, and then he'd pull the chip out and be like, oh, this chip tells us that we should, we should turn up the bass. You know what I mean? Just goofy shit that was awesome. And in the studio too, maybe that was part of it, because recording studios can be places of tension, places of conflict, places of big anxiety. Whether you are aware of it or not, you're chiseling the stone tablets for all of eternity. And Ian doesn't think of it that way. He wants the recording to feel live and spontaneous and to capture the energy that the group presents on stage, which is so cool. And he just had a million different ways to diffuse any kind of tension or anxiety and just make things fun. And he is a beautiful, beautiful man. I love him so dearly. And his sense of humor is amazing. I don't know if he, watches Adam Sandler films like you had mentioned. That's my dream. I would suspect not.
I bet you if he came over to my apartment and I showed him Adam, I bet you we'd have a great night if we watched Adam Sandler movies together.
That's the other part. He's very game to check anything out. You know what I mean? But he lives his life outside of, the popular culture dictums of the time. So things that have to cross his path, they from my experience anyway, the things that seem to cross his path are through happenstance. It's always very interesting to me, but he's always just game for whatever too.
That
so
rules.
Yeah. So I'm here to kind of dispel the idea that Ian is this unfunny, severe guy who can't laugh. He's one of the funniest people you'll ever meet. He's great.
Amazing. Well, Chris,
I adore him.
Thank you so much. What do you want to plug? The Washington Post, check it out. Democracy Dies in Darkness.
Yep. We're an underground newspaper in Washington, D.C. No, I appreciate anybody who reads my work there, though, too, because we're not known for our pop music coverage, and we're doing the very best we can. So anybody who does, a lot of times people will say, like, oh, the Washington Post wrote about X whenever I write about anything. And it's like, yeah, I'm out here. I'm trying to get this happening. So anybody who ever checks it out, deep respect to y'all. And I also do a print-only zine in my spare time called WC Ringtone. You can find out about that on my Twitter if you're interested. It's about all, music mostly. I call it music metaphysics and more, just like, strange things that have happened, little stories of lore in music, book reviews, whatever I'm reading, movies I've seen, things like that. It comes out quarterly and is like a little print zine of things that don't exist in digital space, because I thought it would be cool and maybe even important to kind of take some of the conversation that we have outside of the digital world.
Right.
So check that out. Appreciate it.
Amazing. Cool.